Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, on behalf of the Planning Commission, let me welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting for November 11, 2025. For those of you that haven't been with us in the past, our standard procedure is to look to our consultants, our planner, and our engineer for an overview of the application. Look to the applicant for comments that they have. Through that process, the planning commissioners often ask questions, and we'll bring it back to the table, deliberate, and make a decision. And that's how we'll operate. Our first item is an administrative item, which is to review and approve the minutes from our last meeting on October 14. And so, are there any comments on this? I have two changes in here, if you're going to make a motion to approve.
I shall wait.
Pardon me?
I shall wait.
What I noticed, Amy, this is on the first page, on High Oak. It says the property has 2 front yards, and then it goes into what those are. Really, it has 3 front yards, and it should say, then the last sentence should say, or the second to last, the property has 3 front yards located along Concord Road, High Oak Road to the east, and Long Lake Road to the north. So if we could add that in. And so, unless there's any other changes, or, okay?
I shall like to make a motion that we adopt the minutes as amended here today.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So, our first item is the Planning Commission will consider the request of the property owner at 180 High Oak for final site plan approval for a new office building.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Eric Peach with Giffords Webster, planning consultant for the city. The first item on the agenda today is for 180 High Oak Road. Again, this is for a full site plan review and approval for a commercial site plan, as well as certain items that we'll discuss that would require individual approvals as well. So to begin, I'm just going to go over primarily what was discussed at the last meeting. I do have the full presentation at the end of the slides that we'll be showing today. So if there's any questions or comments, concerns that we need to address that were on the previous presentation, we can do that, but primarily what I'll be presenting is just the changes and the updates that we discussed from the last meeting. So on the screen here shows a compilation at the top of those items that we talked about in October that the applicant was tasked with to make revisions to or to update. And so those are bulleted on the left-hand side of the screen. So we have a request for no EV parking signage throughout the property, or at least on the north side, where there's the underground parking garage, as well as the surface parking that's under the building. The faux windows on the south building where the addition is, if you remember, there were areas that had like window rectangles that were with a brick surface, but what was requested for material and aesthetic was for faux windows in those locations. The rooftop mechanical screening of the existing building will show an elevation sheet that has what that material is. Material covering the exposed columns, that's been changed and updated with a new material. The loading zones, the size and the location of those. Each building now has one loading zone associated with it. The rooftop patio screening has been kept on the plans, and so there was some discussion about adequate screening for that. The high oak screening of parking lot and the ramp, and then lastly, the landscape screening of the southwest property line. So to go through some of those details, this is the first portion of the presentation will be in regards to the EV signage. So there will be a note on the plans that indicates no electric vehicles shall be allowed in the underground parking level or under the building in the surface parking lot. A sign shall be posted at the top of the ramp and next to the red-green traffic lights. So what that looks like in renderings and conceptuals here is, get the pointer. So when a car first pulls in, there's a no EV parking sign here that applies to the surface parking underneath the building. And then as a vehicle enters the down ramp, there will be another sign posted next to the lights that indicate whether a car should stop or go. And then in this image, you can also see where that's located. So moving on to the second point would be that all areas of the ramp under the ground or underground parking area will be smooth poured concrete. There was some discussion at the last commission meeting about what that material would be. The applicant's here and can discuss that more. However, that's been identified as just a smooth concrete finish that leads down to the underground parking garage. These are the windows or the rectangles that primarily were brick with the previous application. Those have been changed to a faux window, even though there will not be an actual window in that location. So in regards to the screening of the new mechanical units on top of the existing building, the Planning Commission had suggested the color of that material, the 5-foot screening panel, be of a darker color or something that would match the limestone color of the trim here, or a darker color maybe to match the awning on the lower level there. So that discussion can be continued today with the applicant, but the applicant is here and prepared to determine an appropriate color that would be sufficient for that. Moving on to the columns, the previous discussion was that the columns seemed simple and didn't quite match the rest of the building, and so what's proposed now is a covering in Indiana limestone. So the purpose of these next few photos, we'll want to focus on these areas here. Again, those are newly covered in Indiana limestone is the material. And these images showing what that would look like from different perspectives. This column here. And then moving on to the loading zones. So the north building, which is the new building, has a new access off of High Oak Road. That is the proposed location of the loading zone. The dimensions of it don't meet the ordinance standard. The ordinance requires 10 by 50, and so because this is a shorter length, the proposed length is 25 feet. And so as you can see here, just for dimensional concerns, it's a 25-foot width of a drive aisle to access the property. And so there'd be plus or minus 15 feet of clearance when there would be a vehicle parked in that location. And what has been discussed is that the property would not require large vehicles, so the delivery vehicles would be more of like UPS and FedEx, Amazon type of vehicles, smaller in scale, that would not necessarily require the full 10 by 50. So the south building, again, which is existing at the corner of High Oak and Concord, the loading zone would be located here in front of the building. That does meet the ordinance standards highlighted in purple, but both of these loading areas, because they're in the front yard, they would require a ZBA application and consideration for approval. The property does not have a designated rear yard, and that's where loading zones are required to be. So in any case, even if the locations were moved to a side yard, it would still require that the loading zones would need a variance for being dimensionally placed in a different location in a front yard. These slides are in regards to the evergreen hedge that will be intended to screen the rooftop patio. The rooftop hedge will be 6 feet in height, of an evergreen species. So these images are intended to show, for perspective, what that height would look like from different perspectives. So from the ground, approaching High Oak Road from Long Lake, the corner of the building would have a vision or a view of the hedge. And then from an aerial perspective, you can see on top of the building here, the building is proposed with a green roof, but it won't be accessible to the employees of the building. But through this door, they'll have access to this patio, which I believe is about 600 square feet, give or take. And this is just a zoomed-in version to give perspective and some scale to trying to hide the activity behind the 6-foot hedge here. So the green roof is about 4,500 square feet, and then the patio highlighted in yellow is about just under 700 square feet, and then the green around the periphery is where the 6-foot hedge will be. And so this diagram here is to show per scale what that height would look like. And so the applicant's here to explain a little more of what the rooftop patio would be used for, but as far as we understand, it's for the employees of the building to have access to outdoor space. These slides relate to the view from High Oak Road. So this is the front of the building, and so there's been a lot of discussion about screening of this area. Behind this 5-foot Hicks yew hedge is a glass railing, so there's a pedestrian walkway to get from the parking lot to the entrance of the building, right alongside of the down ramp into the ramp underneath the building. And so to screen that, as well as the parking lot beyond, is a 5-foot Hicks yew hedge, and these images show from different perspectives of what that would look like. So this is the main entrance to the building, the parking lot beyond, and then underneath the building, the ramp is behind the Hicks yew hedge here. And then this is, again, the Hicks yew hedge. Here's the walkway, pedestrian walkway, and then there's a railing to protect as a barrier from the down ramp. And then this is just to show what the parking lot looks like from behind the hedge that is to be screened from High Oak Road. And then again, the parking lot area under the building and behind the building to be screened from the traffic on High Oak Road. Last month we discussed there's a ordinance requirement that when you have an existing parking lot adjacent to a proposed parking lot, that the boundary is to be screened. This is just a little bit more detail with that conversation. So this is what's proposed by the applicant in terms of a screen or a buffer. It's not a perfect parallel parking lot, but it's just to enhance the area between the two parking areas. And again, the proposal is not to construct the banked spaces at this point in time. So there is an additional buffer between the parking lot that's proposed and the existing parking lot here. So the type of species that's proposed is tupelo, hornbeam, serviceberry, and then mixed in with some viburnum and chokeberry as lower hedges along the property line. And then the landscape plan is an item that requires planning commission approval, just like the overall site plan would. This is to show the northern portion of the site where the new building is proposed, outlined in red. Here we have 5 Japanese Zelkova trees, serviceberry tree here, Corinthian linden proposed along High Oak. Those are shown in the conceptual images, if we want to go back to that. Here's the 5-foot Hicks yew hedge screening the building and the railing to the ramp. And then just a few other species here, sweet spire oak. There's a bunch of existing trees. This is a dogwood, red twig dogwood hedge of 36 inches in height to kind of provide a buffer between the parking lot and the existing property to the west. And then there's some lower shrubs like hydrangea, and then a redbud tree here. So, lastly, this is the southern properties landscape plan. There's 2 big ginkgo trees proposed in the parking lot, Tupelo tree here, and then these are just acknowledged as existing trees that add to the green belt of the southern property. So to recap, the Planning Commission, again, requires the full overall site plan approval. But within that, there's the 5 separate items that require individual planning commission approval, that being the location and the dimension of the loading zones, the reduction in the parking, the design standards, the landscape plan, and then lastly, the landscape screening, which is this number 5 here, between the parking lots, proposed and existing. And then should this application be approved by the Planning Commission, it will go before the Zoning Board of Appeals for the algebraic setback that's proposed on the new building from Long Lake Road, the minimum setback for the proposed addition, which is in the existing building, the front yard loading areas, as we discussed, and then the loading zone size being substandard. So that concludes my presentation. As I mentioned, I do have the previous presentation, so if there's questions or concerns about some items that weren't presented here, we can refer to the remaining slides and perhaps find a slide that has some discussion points or answers to some questions. So
What I'm going to do is ask the commissioners to hold their questions until we hear from the engineer and then ask. Okay?
Good evening, everyone. Jamie Burton with Hubble, Roth and Clark. Eric did a phenomenal job, as usual, walking through the various changes since the last Planning Commission meeting, none of which are engineering related. If you recall, our last 2 letters, basically detail several comments and concerns that need to be addressed as this project moves forward. But from an engineering perspective, we've gone through the parking deck, we've gone through the stormwater management, we've gone through access, et cetera, parking. And the changes they made last time with like the ADA spaces and functionality of those were incorporated in our previous letter. So I'm not going to waste anyone's time to recap, but happy to answer any questions. Essentially, all the changes made since the last meeting are more vertical planning in nature, and the engineering items remain the same. And so we're good to go. But we're happy to answer any questions.
Since you're standing there,
Yes,
you've got a lot of items on your letter,
Yep.
Jamie, that need attention
Yep.
before this building is ever constructed. So to the extent any motion is prepared here,
Subject
I
to.
think it's important that reference be made to all of the items that you have listed.
Yeah, subject to our letter or even Giffords' letter would be appropriate.
Yeah, you've got more items than we normally see, so we've got to make sure we address all of them.
Correct, and we do that for 2 purposes. One is to assure the Planning Commission members that we've thought these things through and intend to have them addressed in the future, but also provide the first checklist, which is a much longer process, for the applicant to understand what needs to be completed before they get a green light to start. So these are all things that we've looked at, addressed, and made sure they're identified. So that's why they're there, but yeah, should be subject to.
My question, ADA.
Oh, go ahead.
Did we solve that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
So first and foremost, ADA is super critical, super important, and we look at it. And for site plan approval, we look at those details as close as we can. To be very perfectly clear, ADA is responsibility of the applicant and then their maintenance, because you could fall out of ADA compliance, et cetera. That's not for us to decide today. So it's really up to the applicant to do. And then during the real detailed grading, say of the ramps or the parking areas, we get further into that to make sure that those areas can be in fact built to ADA standards, and then they ultimately are responsible for that as well. But we don't see a concern related to this building at this time that would warrant site plan concerns over ADA. I think Eric and the applicant would speak to the same thing.
So you can pass on a building having all the proper parking but they have parking down, right? You can't pass on that.
No, yeah, so, yeah, well,
That's done.
there's two things.
Yeah.
Well, the city ordinance speaks, and I'll let Eric speak to the number of parking spaces, but the city ordinance speaks to the number of required accessible handicap or ADA compliant passes. We added one, and you start looking at both buildings, I said, that's not the function, we also look at functionality, hey, you really need to have, and the 280, if you guys remember, before last month, they were pushed up against the building, I'm like, that's not real accessible, so they pulled those away. So we try to look at beyond just what the city standards say, what the ADA standards say, but also look at functionality.
And you like it?
And I think we feel pretty
You have your
comfortable about all
approval.
that. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
What is the size of the car that you use when you're making the diagram? Is
So
there-
we don't
is there
make those
max?
diagrams, they made them. So typically, you would look at fire trucks for like turn radiuses and whatnot, but also we understand that fire trucks will park and go wherever fire trucks need to go. But they looked at delivery vehicles, they looked at loaded trucks for the southern part of the property, and then they looked at cars. And then, you don't really think of it, UPS as something significantly more than that, but that's why with the parking, the loading zone is where the loading zone is shown on the north building. But your dimensional standards of stalls, parking stalls, and lane widths are being met in here, so you have a pretty good.
I'm speaking more of the underground. Is there a limit to the size car that?
Yeah, so there's a
Make
height,
those
there's,
turn
it's
radiuses?
7 foot, and I'll tell you, I drive a Yukon with luggage racks on top, and I can't go into some of those parking decks. But
Does there
that's,
need to be a,
there is a sign, 7 foot clear, there's a sign somewhere
Okay.
in there. That makes
and
sense.
also the sign, the EV sign, it looks high to me. I'm sure is there like a standard?
Yeah, we can work with them when they come in for placement, and I would assume that we get out there and you go, wait a minute, this should be shifted or to see it, or it's hidden behind
So
something.
there's not a standard sign height?
Yes, typically standard sign height or warning signs if we would think about this building, or, they can't be 2 feet low, and there should be a normal
So there's
line
not
of
a
sight.
dictated, okay.
There's a few traffic regulations for that we can look into when they go in there, make sure they're useless if they're not out of normal people's vision circle, and in a car, there is certain,
Because it looked like it's at 7 or 8 feet, so a car.
Might be a little too
max
high,
car
yeah.
is 7 feet, they're not gonna.
so we'll look into that, make sure those are placed accordingly.
Is that the danger? That was just if you have a plugged-in EV vehicle. You can't be an EV
Those are true.
vehicle downstairs at all?
Yeah, so there's no EV,
They could blow up too? Just normally
Yeah,
just
it
sit
doesn't
in
have
there?
to be charging for it to catch on fire.
yeah, it's the battery, it's not whether they catch on fire or not, it's to put out a fire on a battery car is way more complicated than a gasoline car, so they just don't want them anywhere in there. And I don't think there's any EVs right now, except maybe the cyber semi-truck that's more than 7 foot tall anyways, but like a heavy SUV probably is not gonna park down there. I can't park in our deck downtown Detroit with my car, so I understand it very well.
So Jamie, I was driving over there the other day on a nice clear day, and I noticed in the banked parking that they have, the space they have for bank parking, it appears to have wetlands there, because those invasive species of, Dave, what is it that everybody complains about?
Phragmites.
That's it, Craigmites, are all in there, and that's usually in wetlands.
Well, but that's the original site's detention basin that they were
Yeah.
replacing.
So that's a detention basin.
Yeah, that they're replacing now with underground detention, so they can bank parking over the top of it. And so that would not be, and it wouldn't be regulated as a wetland anyways, it's too small and it's not near anything else, but that's a stormwater
Okay.
pocket right now.
I just noticed those things.
They can plow it over tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else for me? Be happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions for Jamie?
Sorry, I have another one.
Yes.
When does the fire department sign off on the building thing?
I
When does the fire department say, hey, it's okay, this is where we'll park if there's a fire at the building, we don't need access here, or?
So my understanding is that the fire department has already looked at this building from a general layout perspective.
Yeah.
And gave us
And
what,
they're-
that's where the EV thing
Okay.
came from.
So they don't care, when they write in this thing, no semi-trucks or fire trucks are expected to be entering the site. It's okay with the fire trucks that they can't be on this, I can't be on site? between the buildings?
Yeah, the north building is, I'm not a firefighter, Dave would probably speak better to this, but you don't stick your trucks in where you can't maneuver, right? So you would just generally fight that from the street,
From the
right? And the
street.
firefighters would go in. The southern building, they can pull around the parking lot, but, there is a second crack at this because the building department will have to review the building itself and the site for fire compliance under the building code. And if there's any nuance to that, then we deal with it at that time too. This is just step one. I mean, there's gonna be a bunch more reviews after this, including the fire department review.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jamie?
Here, just in case, Katie's got one more, you got one more?
Okay, how about questions for Eric? So I have some questions. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, Eric, you, in your presentation today, you mentioned the upper hedge, and you mentioned 6 feet. I'm confused. Is the hedge itself 6 feet, or are you counting the thing that the pot the hedge lives in as part of the 6 feet? And what is it that was agreed to by us in prior discussions with the applicant? Are we talking about a 6-foot hedge, or are we talking about something that's 6 foot tall, including the vessel it sits in? Do you understand my
Yes.
concern?
Yep, I understand. And I believe that what I was referencing to last time was a total height of 6 feet, and that does include the planter. So the planter plus the hedge would be approximately 6 feet in height. If that's not entirely correct, and the planning commission would like to see something higher than that, something we can certainly determine today.
Because I think, and I would look to my fellow commissioners, I think we all agreed that we were looking for a 6-foot hedge. So I point that out. Second question is, who was it that decided the hedge on the walkway down on the first level would be 5 feet? Is that just a number that somebody picked out of the air, or have they forgotten what the planning commission's feeling were on the matter?
Yes. Great question. The original proposed height was, I think, roughly 2 feet. I did have an image in here, but I think I took it out because it was no longer being considered. But originally, that hedge was lower at like 2 feet, I think. And so the concern obviously was for better screening, and so that's why a 5-foot height was chosen. So that also could potentially be increased.
We didn't agree to it.
So
But it was 5 feet proposed at the last meeting as well.
a 5-foot hedge itself, or a 5-foot hedge including the container or the facility it sits in? See, that's the difference that I'm pointing out. I think there's a difference in communication,
Okay.
and we perhaps can clarify that today.
Absolutely. So the ground hedge, the Hicks U, that would not be in a container. So that would just be from grade up to a height of 5 feet. And then for the,
But it could be up to 6 feet.
it could be higher.
Is there any reason why it couldn't be 6 feet?
We can
Is
ask
there
the
an
applicant.
ordinance or some sort of safety concern, or flying birds, or anything that
No, sir.
we should be concerned about?
No. It could be higher.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then just to clarify and determine the appropriate height for a 6-foot high planter plus hedge, so a total height of 6 feet, that was the intention of the applicant coming back with revised drawings showing what 6 feet from the ground or from the rooftop would be from these different perspectives. Oops.
You're going ahead, your
Yeah.
pointer. What's the height of the structure that they have, they're putting on top of this building?
The,
From the top of the building to
Yep.
the top of this?
like the stairwell, is that what you mean? Like
Yeah,
what
that
sticks
large
up above
stair-
the
yeah,
roof?
And how big is that structure that they are proposing to put?
I
in?
believe that's an additional 7 feet?
Well, there's a 6-foot person, so how
Well-
high would it be?
Maybe this was 7 feet. Do you know, Kevin, what the?
No, it can't be 7'2", because
The
I'm
whole
looking at
build-
people
the-
with a 6-foot person.
Where everything gets measured from.
Okay, I'm measuring from not the parapet, I'm measuring from the top of the building.
3-foot parapet.
It's a 3-foot parapet.
How tall is the door that's on there right now?
The door is an 8-foot door.
Let me ask a question
So it's like an
about
11-foot
this
building?
building.
Yes,
Th-
yes.
That's going to be a little maybe different than where you're headed
It's okay.
here. So as I looked at this, and I've been unsettled about two things on this building. Well, a couple things, but one is the front elevation. I don't think there was any agreement on poles at all. I mean, there was discussion about the poles. I can remember saying at the last meeting that there were 6 posts at the end of the building, and I think my words were, why don't we create a wall there, where those 2 posts, there used to be 6 there, and I said, if you put a wall there, you would obscure all the parking, or at least some of it, and so you wouldn't see it.
Is that the front, is this Long Lake right
This
here?
looks like the
Wall?
south, yeah.
That's from the south side, but
Long
that
Lake
would
is
be
here.
from the southwest corner.
Can you give us that perspective?
So,
Okay.
and then on the High Oaks elevation side, I have plenty of correspondence that says, right now, there's no front elevation on the first floor of this building, which is unlike most anything we have in the city right now. And I wasn't comfortable with that. And I certainly wasn't comfortable with the painted steel posts. Now, when I look at the plans, what I see is the rendering is different than the plans. And we can discuss that in a minute, and maybe the architect can draw attention to that. But then there was discussion about the rooftop, the use of the rooftop terrace and creating a terrace. And I went back and I looked at the ordinance, and so right now, the allowable height of this building is 25 feet. And right now, the building is maxed out at 25 feet. And
Is
so
that the top of the parapet?
that would be actually a little bit below the top of the parapet, I think. We are maxed out at 25 feet. So that means that that building, that structure, is taller than what is permitted by ordinance. Would that be right?
The height of a building is measured to the top of the last floor, so the ceiling,
Right. Yep.
the rooftop.
So-
Yeah, and that's 25
But-
feet.
So, and what our ordinance says is, because I looked at all the buildings in the city, I'm not sure I can find one building, even on some of the large buildings, where we've actually got a structure like this on top of the building with a stairway going up. Most of the buildings, like most flat roof buildings, they have an access panel. And I just did sort of like a Google search of it. You can actually just look at the renderings and the plans here. But you don't see structures like this with a vestibule area and all that. And the ordinance says that if you want to have, if you need some kind of structure, that the only way you can do that is with ZBA approval. So it says, there's a height exception. So if this vestibule is higher than what's permitted by ordinance in terms of the height limit, which is 25 feet, it says, penthouse or rooftop structures for the housing of stairways require zoning board of appeals approval. And so, and this is really for use of servicing rooftop equipment. And so I'm just looking at this whole discussion about putting this building, this structure on top of this building. And I'm not seeing any others in the city. Maybe there's some. I just did a random quick search and I didn't see any. And now we're creating this rooftop terrace. And I'm not sure that the structure can actually be placed there, if I'm reading this correctly, without ZBA approval. And I guess I'm surfacing this, because we've had this discussion, and it's still a discussion. And I think we should consider that as well. I mean, as I looked at this, I was wondering, well, how are you gonna even irrigate the plant material and that sort of thing. So I put that on the table in addition to the questions raised regarding the height of the vegetation surrounding this area.
So Eric, if someone's building a house, you just said that it's the top of the ceiling of the top floor. Someone's building a house, and they want to put a bunch of turrets around. Now, it's higher than the top ceiling. In the city of Bloomfield Hills, you just allow them to put like turrets around all over the top as long as it's not, or you go to the top of your top turret.
Yeah, good question. So in the ordinance, the maximum height allowance is either to the top of a flat roof or to the midpoint of a pitched roof. So there's a different kind of gabled and the other kinds of roof styles that there are. And so those are typically to the midpoint. So those are more common than flat roofs for houses. So we always do the exercise to determine the average grade, to find the maximum 30-foot of the house, which is typically the midpoint of the height of the roof. But there's exceptions for things like chimneys. And so those don't have a dimension associated with them, a height dimension. So that's why on some of the larger homes in the city that you'll see those large chimneys in addition to the 30-foot maximum height
Did you
limit.
ever get a plan from them where they proposed having some arboretum area up at the top and you said you can't have it that high, or did they figure that out on their own? That they can't have anything higher than what is allowed?
No, there was never anything in addition.
No plan submitted to you?
No, ma'am. There was essentially what you see here with the enclosure here, this enclosure here, and then the access to get to the roof, which I think this is associated with the elevator, perhaps. This enclosure,
So outdoor equipment.
mechanical screening, and then just the access to get to the roof. So the prior version, the first version of the plan, was for this whole area to be enclosed. Because there was discussion over whether or not there was residential zones within 300 feet of the site, which allows for the building to be 30 feet as opposed to the maximum required here as 25. But because there's residential zoned within 300 feet, that restricts this proposed building from being 30 to 25, which is the distance from the grade to the roof.
So when we ask the architect, how high is that building, and he tells us it's 8 feet because he's measuring from the top of the parapet, you've measured the top of the building to below the parapet, to the top of the flat roof, correct?
Yes, and those
Okay.
are shown.
So they have to give you the actual numbers to you, since I don't feel we're getting them. You have the actual top of the roof at the top height, and then buildings then they have a 3-foot parapet, and then they have an 11-foot enclosure for now a necessary staircase because they've decided to build a top floor, which is an outdoor floor. 11 feet. Are they giving you the actual numbers? Is it 11 feet above the top? Is it in the plans?
Yes,
Actually, it's in the plan.
It's in the plans.
Okay, so it's 11 feet above. We have an 11-foot structure. I was on phone calls all day, so I drove around for hours. I drove around Birmingham, I drove around Bloomfield Township, I drove around Bloomfield Hills, and looked at the top of everyone's roof. I was wrong on one thing with the architect when I said putting white around your back building would look bad. It actually disappeared, right?
Black, it's better, right?
Yeah, black is better, except on one building on Woodward. That was it, one exception on Woodward. Black is better. Every single building I looked at had the least amount of stuff coming out of the roof. And then I started playing this game with AI, where I took, hey, what if the Kingsley comes to us and says, you know what, we have all these wedding venues, it would be really great if we could build an 11-foot structure, maybe a little bigger so we can have more elevators, and we can have a whole area for our weddings on top. And then, hey, why not the restaurant next to it? Why not have them have a whole nother area for their banquets? And how about where Little Daddy's is? What if we get one of those great bars that goes until 2 a.m. with a whole outdoor area for all the partiers, all the college kids, older kids. I drove around and I saw Birmingham fighting back on having anything but a brick building come up. When Albans went down, what did they approve of? A beautiful brick building. What did they have? Brick walls, so you don't see any parking. What do they have in Bloomfield Township? Every single underneath parking of old buildings that they have painted dark. They don't have limestone. They don't have anything like that. And even the ugly parking structure that's in Birmingham, that's behind the building that I've worked on for years, 300 Park, has big white stanchions that go up. They haven't fixed it yet, but even they have a brick wall going around so you can't see the brick cars. But so I researched a heck of a lot in order to come in here and say, Bloomfield Hills doesn't have, the precedent of Bloomfield Hills is we don't have big structures. We don't have any structures on the top of commercial buildings. We don't have any structures on the top of restaurants. We don't have the structures on the top of gas stations. We don't have it because this is the city of Bloomfield Hills. And when we have asked the architect many times to make these stanchions look like the rest of Bloomfield Hills and cover them with brick, we keep getting other things. We keep getting, we don't want to put a brick wall. We don't want to cover the stanchions. And this is the architect who fixed Art Van's parking lot that we all drove down and went, how the hell did that get built? How the hell are we looking at cars under the Art Van? He's the one who fixed it. So now it looks good for the first time. And 3 times now I feel like we're just being berated to just accept what he's giving us. And then we're going to be driving down Long Lake going, oh my gosh, I can't believe we just got bullied into allowing us to look at cars when no other city does. Even Royal Oak doesn't. That's my research.
I think there's 2 issues. I guess one is the rooftop area, and it's almost, I think, a good idea to separate them. With the rooftop, as I'm reading the code right now, the zoning ordinance, and I'm looking at section 24-211, and by this section, if I'm looking at the plans correctly, and it was this morning I was looking at this, and I saw, it says rooftop height, and it's got it at 34.6. And I looked at that, and it shows the allowable main building at 25 feet, which is correct. But then it says allowable stairway roof at 34.6. And so I went back and I looked at the ordinance, and this vestibule or stairway area, whatever it is intended to service the equipment on top of the roof. And in the case that you have it, it's got to be approved by ZBA, which would mean that it's not a self-created condition and all the criteria that go along with ZBA approvals. And so set aside, and those are legitimate questions about.
I know you like the ordinance, and I like.
Yeah, so those are legitimate questions that you're raising about what does that mean going forward?
Wait, Eric.
What does that mean going forward in terms of So if we do it here, is a Kingsley gonna come and now want to put something on their roof and say, we let them do it there, you gotta let us do it? The ordinance would require, I guess if, as I'm reading this, because the height of this is 34.6, which exceeds the 25 feet, it requires ZBA approval, and that's really conditioned on the building intended to service the equipment on the roof. So there's the aesthetic issue that you've raised, Catherine. I'm looking at it from an ordinance issue. And I think we've got to address both of those, and maybe we wait until the architect's able to discuss this when he comes up.
Can I just ask a couple questions for clarity?
Sure.
Please.
May I please see the view from Long Lake? I feel like we see everything from High Oak and everything from the south, but can I please see the view? Is there a daytime view showing from Long Lake? If you're driving by Long Lake, what it would look like, daytime view?
Right.
I struggle to,
Let me see.
Should be in here, if not, I have some.
and can I ask the applicant, does that structure on top of the building, does it have to be 11 feet to house the elevator? Is that,
Only houses the stair, so it's just a
so
matter of
why does it need to be 11?
getting above the roof, and then the structure is put the roof on. It can be as small as it can from a structural standpoint.
So it has to be 11 feet high?
Might be able to be 10, 8, 10, I mean, we can make it as short as possible. We probably only need about 8-inch beams going across there, so we would want to have at least 8 feet clear underneath.
So I still don't see a view from the street. That is a heavily trafficked.
Is this one, is it one
Street.
of these a view that you could give the mayor?
I'm sorry if I,
Is any of these the view you could point out?
The applicant has a presentation.
wait, I'm sorry, what page?
A305, is that it?
Actually,
That would be super, thank you. And also, can you go back to that, the view, the lines that show the angle of the view? Because it doesn't appear that any nearby houses could see the pink lines. Are they outlining?
Here? This one?
Yeah, it looks like it's set back. Oh, that's not, I guess it doesn't show what I hoped it would. I was hoping you would, in an effort to support,
The
you would
view
show
from-
that from below you cannot see any, usually you show, in an architectural drawing, you could show the sight lines from below, looking up and prove that it's,
A couple of other images, to me, the three-dimensional is better than the diagram, but
well, it shows directly, like if someone's in a house on the south end, you can prove to us that they couldn't see people up there because of the angle and how far it's set back.
300 feet away across the street,
Or from Long Lake. I guess that's what I'm, people driving by Long Lake, are they gonna see this building and?
I think this is Long Lake, but it's for an orientation that.
It's still a different orientation though.
so two considerations is, with respect to your
Thank you, Bill.
question, Commissioner. One is, directly across the street is vacant property that's zoned residential. And
Across Long Lake or
No,
across High
it's
Oak?
across High Oak. So someone's going to build there. So
That's- right.
if I own that property, I can put actually a building taller than this across the street. So a house, our height limit is 30 feet on a house. So the people that are living on the second floor of that home would be looking directly at this structure on top of the building.
Okay.
With respect to Long Lake is high.
Right,
The
that's my
property
concern.
slopes down. So, if you look directly across the street from City Hall, there is there, what appears to be a one-story building, actually, that's a
Drops down to
two-story.
two,
That's a
right.
two-story building. If you go out and look at that building right now, you see what's right on top of that roof, because it's only, so,
You're right.
my point is, if you're on Long Lake Road, you're not gonna be looking up, you're gonna be looking a little.
That's what I was hoping for
little-
this
You're
viewpoint.
gonna be
and-
looking a little up, but really, it's like looking at a one-story building with a flat roof. Which means the visibility of the structure is gonna be much more visible.
The 11-foot,
Right.
that structure?
But setting all that aside, it looks like there's an ordinance that requires ZBA approval for anything taller than the 25-foot height limit. And based on the plans, this is called out at 34.5, which means it exceeds the 25 feet. And so ZBA approval would be required, and a building like this is intended to service the rooftop appliances, the HVAC and anything else, which this is not. So you got a bunch of things going on. And so we can continue discussing this.
It sounds like I'm the only one who would like, but I think it's a daytime thing and it's an office building, so I was thinking it would be okay to approve in an office building situation, people being able to enjoy the outdoors. It's not like the Kingsley where you would have weddings and outside and it'd be loud and music, I mean, but
One could argue that that's gonna create precedent though, too.
Yeah.
you're right.
Wouldn't it be zoning specific?
Yeah, couldn't we,
Yeah,
We
but
don't have anything
no.
right now, so.
No.
in my experience, in approvals, once you, and everything's different, but once, and we've seen it in this city, once someone does something in one place, the next person comes in and says, you allowed it here, why can't we do it here? And so, to your point, it can be specific. This would require, so there's a couple different elements here. One is an ordinance perspective, one is a design perspective. One's sort of the aesthetic value or consideration. The other is just the hardcore ordinance. So this would require, if I'm reading the ordinance correctly, ZBA approval. Go ahead.
I read the ordinance, it looks like ZBA approval, not a variance, so it doesn't have a height requirement in there. It just has, if it's above the 25 foot and it is this type of structure, it would require them to approve it, but it's not a variance. So it could be, if the planning commission were to.
So
Agree this, it could be packaged into any of the zoning board issues that may be a part of this.
So usually the ZBA, to your point, is opining, giving variances off of ordinances. In this language, it says ZBA approval, and up above, it talks about the height limit. Mark?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at, I think you're referring to subsection 7 of
Yeah.
the ordinance, correct?
Yes.
The general ordinance is dealing with exceptions to the height limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Subsection 7 provides an exception to rooftop equipment, which includes this type of a staircase
Mhm.
enclosure. It's not defined for any particular purpose, but any type of staircase enclosure. And then it's followed by, four criteria. And so it's not a variance request, but it is a decision by the ZBA applying these criteria 7A through D 1 and 2. That's the standards that they'll apply to determine whether this will qualify for an exception from the height. So it's not technically a variance, it's just an approval based upon criteria.
Okay. So, in any event, it does require ZBA approval, and I take your point. about, it's actually a little unclear. I read the same words and it wasn't clear to me, but, so, bottom line is, so we've got, if we tackle these issues a little separately, we've got the rooftop issue, or consideration, and with respect to it, we've got, the ordinance consideration, which is the height limit, and that this exceeds the height limit, and it's gonna require ZBA approval. And the other is the aesthetic consideration, the appearance, and that's bundled up with a couple of different items. One is, what are you gonna see from the street? And across the street, you've got residential, where a home could be 30 feet, and so this would be, so that lot right there across the street, that's residential, and so it's gonna have a straight line view of the top of that roof. And at Long Lake, where it says East Long Lake, that's high, so you're gonna be looking at basically a one-story building, so you're gonna be seeing that. So that's the aesthetic consideration with respect to the building. And then there becomes question whether or not, because we haven't ever allowed anything like this in the city, if other applicants or other building owners will come back and now want to begin putting rooftop patios on top of their buildings, in the precedent that sets. So, you know, I guess the commission, and it may be the best way to tackle this is maybe the building, there's going to be certain elements that we can collectively agree to, and others that we may, on a majority view, aren't comfortable with. And so then it becomes question of, if you want to get the building approved, whether or not the applicant's going to look at it and say, well, we wanted to do that, it's not all that important, and we're willing to waive this request and move forward with the rest of it. And not bundle it all into one group that, well, it doesn't pass because we've got issue with this one element. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and the city, Mr. City Attorney, don't you have a problem with the whole idea that they're going to be putting people up on top of a roof with 36-inch high parapet? And they say, hey, don't worry, no one's gonna go past the shrubs. I know that our fellow commissioner had asked, like, is the city gonna be liable for that? But do we ever allow something that's under 42 inches for safety reasons on a flat roof, a wall that they want to be accessed for the public?
It's not access for the public, as I understand it, it's access for the employees in the building.
That's a
There is
public,
al-
no? That's not, oh, so no guests are gonna be allowed up on the roof?
I'm just
For-
going by what I was presented with.
Okay,
I would also note that the area is not the entire rooftop area. It is enclosed with a 1-foot planter with a 5-foot hedge for a total of 6 feet. It's enclosed area. And yes, there is forgot the exact height of
the
the
OSHA,
parapet wall, but
yeah, the
it is a low
3 feet.
parapet wall.
3 feet, the architect said.
3-foot parapet wall.
On some parts, because I can see one part is lower than that. And I thought OSHA is something that the city has to take into consideration.
Whatever is built on this building has to be approved by our city building official. So there won't be anything built on here, no matter, even if the planning commission approves it, that is not the city, not the building.
But Mr. City Manager, we've wasted 3 hearings talking about this proposed live hedge that's gonna maintain and always be green and always look pretty and not have any openings. And it's never going to be approved in this instance by OSHA and standards. And then they're gonna come back to us and say, we need to have a 42-inch high in order to have safety. And you go, and that happens way after it gets out of the planning commission. So now we have a 42-inch high parapet all the way around, if not a fence. And then what happens when these green hedges turn all brown and yellow because they're up on a hot roof where we can barely keep our hedges nice and green, but with sprinklers going all the time. But it's going to look good on top of this, and we've been doing this, and it's a last minute consideration that there's some safety, and the commissioners keep asking, what's the safety about having a rooftop thing enclosed by hedges? Why? This is a building that has, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is a building that has all this kind of lounge area with a golf simulator, yes? And beautiful design. You have all kinds of lounge area for your engineers, but you also want to change precedent in the city of Bloomfield Hills and build a 11-foot brick structure with whatever the hedges are going to look like in an unsafe condition on the top of this building. And again, I feel we've wasted hours talking about something that it is not safe in any way. We can't put a pool in without a 42-inch fence.
If I could, go ahead.
I think you've got, you bring up a lot of good points, a lot of good concerns, and that's what your job is. And I think it might be a good idea eventually here for the applicant to discuss it and answer some of those concerns. But at the end of the day, if the planning commission's not comfortable with this, then it shouldn't get approved.
Okay, why don't we,
Yeah, can we hear
can we
from?
go up and hear the
Yeah,
applicant?
so let's talk about the front elevation a second.
He's going to show us in his presentation.
Yeah, he's gonna show us. Why don't we let him show
No,
us?
It's not
well,
in our
and
thing.
that's fine, but I guess there's another consideration. Could we see the high oaks? I guess I want to cite what we're looking at. So when we look here, we see those 3 posts. Now, the building is sloping down, and the height at the north end of the building from the ground to the underside of the first floor, per the plans, is 8 feet. When you look at it, the south end of the building, there's no dimension, but it looks like it's about probably 12 feet because the grade is sloping down. Maybe it may actually be more. It's hard to see. So at the north end, you've got 3 feet of visibility between the top of the hedge and the bottom of the building. At the south end of the building, you'd have 7 or 8 feet. And so
Indian limestone.
here, this shows it's a straight line. And even if you accept this design, you can't build it that way with a 5-foot hedge, because a 5-foot hedge at the south end of the building, the gap is going to be 7 feet and not 3 feet or 5 feet. It's going to be something much larger than what appears. And if we look at then the plans, we're going to see that the posts don't conform to what we're seeing in the renderings.
Say that again? How do the posts, what we're seeing here is not in the drawings?
It's not in if you look at the actual drawings. So when you look at the south end of the building, if you go, you get the south, like, so
in this packet, or-
so for example, those walls, if that car is 9 feet wide, maybe those walls are 5 feet wide. But when you look at the plans don't show that. They just show a post. So if you're going to
Oh,
approve
that's a
something,
problem.
you need a plan that conforms to what the illustration is. And even if you decide to approve this, you still gotta have a plan that conforms with the rendering is. Simply put,
So the first time he came in, there were 6 or so posts on the drawing, and he only showed 3. And the explanation was, oh, we didn't get around to it, we didn't really get around to it. But it seems to me that should be the only thing that they're kind of focusing on. And I'm still finding teeny little posts looking nothing like the photos.
so anyways, so those are my, those,
Show you what you're talking about.
I can show you.
so, any more questions for Eric?
Let's see.
Okay. If you guys would like to come up and address those questions.
Oh.
I'll look here first, since you were just talking about this plan. All right, so this is a plan, we'll look at, this is the underground level. So you're seeing here, these are the 4-foot limestone piers here, the 2 of them, and each of these locations are the smaller limestone piers.
Can
Same
you show me
thing
that
shown
again?
on
I'm
the
sorry.
plan here.
Can you
I'm
go
sorry?
back? Can you go back? I'm sorry.
Sure,
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it here, they're the same plan. So there's two larger piers here, and then the smaller limestone piers are on the sides as they're shown.
What size did you say they were?
These are roughly 4 feet wide here.
And how tall?
They're the full height, so they're just under 11 feet, I think, on this end, maybe 10, 8, something like that. Because the site does slope down.
Sure.
Yes, correct.
Okay, 4 foot wide, 10, and maybe up to 11 feet high posts on all 3 of those?
So,
Correct. This is on the far end. These, as they come up here, obviously, this
It'll be shorter.
is a little bit different grade as you come through.
Are they also 4
How
feet
wide are
across?
those, though?
Though or not, those are smaller. Those are like 16 inches square.
So they're still little posts.
can you show us, and
Yeah.
I didn't mark this. Can we
That's right.
look
You
at
want
the,
on the rendering? Is
yeah,
that-
no, so there's a couple different places we can look. Let's look at the plan.
Okay, so here,
The plan of the at grade?
the plan of the grades.
No, the plan at grade, the plan of the building, the south elevation that shows those posts.
Rendering, colored rendering.
No, I'm looking at the actual plans, and then we'll get to the rendering.
Well, this is the floor plan above. This is the outline of the floor plan above, and this is where the posts are right here.
Where's Woodward?
No, there's an elevation,
Right.
Is that what you want, an elevation?
the side elevation of the the south elevation of the building. And there's actually a plan, and there's a rendering. So,
Yeah, here I can
so,
pull up the renderings for you. But it's probably easier to see on the rendering, honestly.
well, let's look at that, let's just look at this. So, can you, go up? Oh, maybe you go down. That's right, that's the east elevation, is that the south? Let's look at the south elevation. Okay. Okay, so here, so just above, so as I look at that, that shows these limestone posts. No, to the left? Nope,
On the brown.
nope, go up, there you go. So, right where you've got that boxed in, where it says south elevation, and then just to the left of that, it says limestone. So my point here is, there's no dimension on that, and when you look at that, and it's also in the plan, and I can't find it on the page right now, and I didn't highlight it when I was looking at it.
Chairman, are you talking about those two little white
Yeah.
posts on there? Do you know how to get your thing over to there? The little white posts I was talking about?
I understand.
Yeah.
What
So
you're
are
seeing
those
here
4
did not,
feet wide?
what you're seeing here did not get revised, and that's on me. But all of the
So
renderings,
my-
all the plans are showing it correctly, this one
Can you
drawing.
show us another plan or another rendering that shows or the one,
Yeah,
Sure,
that
all
was
of the
actually-
plans that we looked at show those.
No, the elevation. An elevation.
Wouldn't it be just easier to put them in the details?
yeah, so we could see, okay, this is so many feet wide, this is so many.
I mean, that's what we're accustomed to seeing.
Okay, so
I mean,
here's what you're looking at here. These are those
Yeah,
4-foot
but there's
piers.
no like number, you didn't label them as, they're 4 feet wide, that I could see.
Is that the
You told us
south?
that, but,
Okay,
I mean, we
I
asked
did
you
not.
to change the pillars, and so
and,
it would be
and
normal to show us dimensions of what you're proposing.
I'm telling you that's what they are.
And those are only 16 inches wide? Those on the high oak side?
Correct.
But is that a rendering of something that's 16 inches wide there? That looks more like
Looks fatter
30
than
inches
16.
wide?
That looks a lot bigger than 16 inches for
Well,
scale.
you're seeing, so you're seeing here, we'll look at a detail right there.
Where? What are we looking at?
So
So I see.
that's probably about as close up as you can get. If you look at these as a brick size, if you had a brick on each side of that, that would give you,
So can the
16
dimensions
inches.
of those be preserved in the PDA, the detail sheet?
can they what, I'm sorry?
Can the dimensions of that pillar that you just pointed to be identified in the PEA detail sheet, the C9.1? I mean, seems to be a relatively easy thing to just put that in there.
Can I put it in there? I'm sure
We
we could
didn't
do
put it
that.
in, I guess that's what we're asking.
We wouldn't normally put a pier on the civil detail sheet, but
Except
Even though
we keep
specifically
asking
asked
you
to
about piers.
revise them, and that we would be looking at them, and we were concerned with the width.
my understanding was the concern was with the material, the painted steel. So these
It was,
are a completely,
it was the narrowness of them as well. It was pretty clear that they just look like, you said skinny posts, so I would think if you're trying to show us how you revise them, that you would show us dimensions.
You said from your seat that you were gonna show us what the south elevation was. It's not in any of our packets what the south elevation was. It's, last week all we saw was you can't really see the rooftop, and now we're talking about this, and we actually can see the rooftop because of how the whole property slopes, and everything's gonna look like a one-story building with the stuff of rooftop.
so
We
if you're
have
across the
some
street,
renderings
that's-
in the
that's where you can
nighttime.
see.
Or nighttime renderings that barely see the posts. I don't know why, we never had nighttime renderings before. I don't know what that's, we would like a, from Woodward, is that from Woodward?
This is Long Lake.
From Long Lake, I'm very sorry, Long Lake. This is Long Lake.
This is Long Lake as you're pulling into High Oak. You're not seeing any vehicles from Long Lake.
Wait a minute,
The building next door to the right, that's the driveway that's there, where that blue car is. That's the building directly to the east. We feel that we have sufficiently met the ordinance relative to screening of vehicles. If this was an open parking lot, we would have more screening than would be required for that.
Okay, you know, you say that, but right there, right in that rendering, right above there,
Oh, there we go.
right in the rendering, see those little white posts? That look, the white posts that you have, that we keep pointing out, that we don't like how it looks? I don't understand why you keep asking us to, I mean.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you to do anything. I've told you these are limestone columns.
But can
You
go
are
back?
asking us, you're asking us to approve of this
Can you go back to that?
building. Sir?
Keep going, wait. These are limestone?
You're seeing this, the piers in the background. I'm
Oh,
not
I'm
trying to
just
pull
asking.
anything over on you.
Okay,
They're
answer
Are
the
they
question.
limestone
limestone,
piers.
and how big are they? How wide are
We
they?
said 16.
I just said they were
16.
16 inches.
So that's still,
Those are 16.
that's still, those are 16-inch ones that we're looking at right there, those round things.
No, they're white, they're limestone.
Ma'am, this could be, now, this is not an old image because we have raised the hedge, so this is in the model. The model is the same. It doesn't change when you rotate around the building, so.
Still haven't answered the question.
Let me, we could keep talking about this for a while. For plans, what the commission would expect is fully dimensioned plans. And here, I just happen, I'm looking at the rendering of what would be the column, if you go through a couple more of these pictures from High Oak.
So there's one right there.
Okay, so that's 16 inches, right, supposedly? I mean, let's look at it from the High Oak Road.
Where would you like to see it from?
Keep going back. Okay, right there. So those look like, those are the posts that are like 16 inches.
Okay,
Okay, but then when I look at this visual depiction, this looks like it's 4 feet wide. And this would be, go back to that other image. So I want to sort of simplify this so we can get
okay,
to
so
what we need.
I'm gonna tell you, this is the same column in the same model. It's not. So it may appear that way, but I'm just telling you what it is.
So, with all due respect, so this image, this looks like this is
That's
about.
exactly the same column as you're looking at right there.
Right. and-
Same
and-
size.
But this is actually, this is a rectangle. This looks like it's about a foot by 4 feet wide. This does, and this is that, and if we look at this, so the bottom line is, we do not have a dimension plan, and I heard what you said, that the posts on the south side are 4 feet wide, and the posts on the east side are 16 inches wide. And so, we can move forward with the representation about certain sizes, because what we have here, we have images on these renderings that do not agree with what's depicted on the plans. So we have two different things, and we've got to reconcile those. And I wouldn't hold up a set of, an approval because something isn't clear. We can draw a conclusion and document what that is. I think the larger issue is, what is the commission satisfied with respect to the east and the south elevation of this building? So if the commission is satisfied with what's presented in the rendering, even though the plans do not agree with the rendering, we can document that. The question is, are you satisfied with what you see?
Question is, why are we being forced to guess? Why are we being forced to guess? I can read plans, I can look at plans, and then I can look at renderings, and I still want to know what it looks like when you're driving by a Long Lake, and for some reason, that's never been important to put into our packet of information of what it looks like when you drive past
So-
Long Lake.
Like if you're parked and stopped in front of your building, because you often are, because it's always backed up there. Sure. What would it look like? I only see.
I'm
in-
gonna,
So,
so I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna help you out here a second.
Long Lake?
Let's go back to the High Oaks
Long
view of the, the High Oaks view of the building.
Is that where people can build across the lake?
Okay, yep, okay. So, in my view, we've got some important elevations to look at. One is, how is it gonna look from High Oak? And what the Planning Commission, in my view, should consider is what our ordinances expect. There's the aesthetic considerations, but we also need to consider about what the ordinance says. And what the ordinance says is, we shouldn't be looking at cars. And under the design standards, we've got a lot of aesthetic considerations about how does it fit into the surrounding neighborhood, and is it of quality material, and what can you see when you look into the windows? There's all those considerations in the design standards that allows us to make subjective judgments about how those items fit into the community. So strictly from an ordinance, from the review of the cars right now, you can see the cars underneath the building. I mean, it is what it is. We can see them in this rendering. So that's a consideration. And the Planning Commission just needs to wrap its arms around this. When we have other similar buildings in the city, and I'm going to use the example of the Comerica Honigman building along Bloomfield Parkway, where they have underground parking. They have a visible parking area, but it's blocked completely by vegetation. And there's actually a wall with posts, with columns. So that's one condition we have. Here, we've got the visual view of cars. We've got posts that are differently dimensioned on the south side of the building. They're 4 feet wide. Here, they're 16 inches. You know, maybe you can look at this and you can say, I can dress up these posts to look more like they do on the south end of the building. I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out, but we need to get comfortable with the east side of the building. You're also going to see it from, do you have the view from the southeast corner? So then we've got this view. So, yes, sir.
Can I ask a question? I noticed on the south side, there's the 4-foot wide pillars, and I agree the representation here, those look like more like 2-foot, they don't look like 16, I mean, they look bigger than.
Plus, yeah.
Yeah.
They
But
look
what
at
if,
least 30 inches.
I don't know, I think what you're trying to get at is, if those were 4 feet, is that something that is acceptable, or is it something that needs to be more robust?
So, Dave, those are some of the, I have my own personal views, and I'm not going to put my personal views out there right now. I've expressed them over the last 6 months about some of this. I want the Planning Commission, I mean, we can nuance that, we can talk about this for hours.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because the south, I mean, I'm just talking from my own perspective, the south one's 4 feet, looks like they're getting where the discussion was before. Is that something that they can do on that, east side of the building?
That's a consideration. I mean, last meeting, I proposed where those 2 posts are, create a wall there,
Right.
and then you don't see any of that. So, I mean, there's a.
I
and-
second that.
And
I
I don't
personally
want,
am fine with the 4 foot, but I still think those don't look 16 inches, and there is no image matching
Right. They look more like 2 or over.
what the actual dimensions are that you're proposing.
well, he said they were 16 inches. So, but you're saying.
I'm saying,
they-
I don't, my,
I mean, we're not gonna get past the discrepancy of the.
Right.
it's just hard to be
Right, the
shown an
pictures-
image that's
so-
inconsistent.
So what I'm trying to
with what's likely.
drive at is, right now, we've got plans that don't match the renderings.
Right.
And so I'm looking at the commissioners and saying, what is it that you want? Because, right now, the plans don't meet the renderings anyway, so we can document what we want, and he can fix it. That's where I'm headed with that. So, I'm
Kevin, is
gonna,
that something that you can do, is put wider pillars in, much wider?
Okay. Yes, of course, anything can be done. The idea is not to create a lower level wall underneath this building. I don't understand how you can equate this with buildings that you drive under. If this was a surface parking lot, you'd be seeing cars. If you look on the other side of the street, you see nothing but cars. You have a 2-foot hedge. You're gonna see, you don't look at this building in elevation. As you move around the building, you're gonna see parking lot. I see a car over there, but when you're looking on the east side, that white car is screened by the hedge. You can't only look at a building in elevation. From Long Lake Road, you see no vehicles, but yet, as you drive down High Oak, you're gonna get different views of this site. I could put a solid wall where those 2 4-foot piers are, and I'm still gonna see the red car, and I'm still gonna see the white car, because the white car doesn't have anything to do with the building, it's in the parking lot.
But it would block it.
just,
But it would
just,
It
block
won't
it.
block it.
just to put
I
things
wouldn't
in,
see it.
to put things in perspective. So, this commission approved a building on this site with no variances. And there was parking beneath the building, and the whole building was enclosed.
Okay.
So this building can be constructed, there's approved plans that show this. This building, the parking was below the building, and it was all walls, so we didn't see any of this. It was, in fact, I shared that image, those plans with you during the subcommittee review of this building.
I'm well aware of the building, and I don't understand honestly how it's even relevant, because I'm looking at buildings all around this site, and they're nothing but open parking lots. It's not like you're never gonna see a car, even if you did that. I don't understand it. I really
I have a
don't.
question.
Well,
Do
the
you
the
know?
green hedge
of-
is very helpful. I appreciate the green hedge. I
How
don't,
tall is the hedge?
it's gotta be.
It's a
the height of-
5-foot hedge from the sidewalk.
Would it be level to the horizon, or does that slope there? In other words, you follow me? I know you know what I mean there.
I'm sorry.
Is the hedge level to the horizon? In other words, does it follow the slope 5 feet? That distance between the top of the hedge and the bottom of the building would stay constant?
It really should be taller than 5 feet at the end of it, because our preference would be to have it follow the building line. I mean,
Exactly.
I would,
And so if you did that, it would need to be, based on sort of my quick look at this, those would have to be they'd have to be actually 8 or 9 feet
8 or
tall.
9 feet hedge on
it
one side.
wouldn't be quite that high.
To this point, because that's something that I wasn't here last time, but, so if you look at these renderings are, I'm not saying intentionally misleading, but they are. So here, the grass in front of it looks fairly level. If you go to the prior image, yeah, there. So the slope of the road is quite dramatic. And when you follow the hedge, it's sort of an optical illusion, I think, because it's all 5 feet, and there's about whatever that width is from the top of the hedge to the building at the north side. It can't be the same distance at the south side if the hedge is 5 feet uniform, because it slopes down. So,
it doesn't match the.
it's impossible to have.
The bottom line is, we've provided a 5-foot hedge, which is what we were instructed to do. It's more than what's required by the ordinance to screen this. If this was a surface lot, if this building can sit there and that was a surface lot, you'd be seeing cars to the left, you see cars as you drive by. If I turn 180 degrees behind me, I'm looking at 15 or 20 cars that have no screening.
Okay, so we have,
I think
an
we've done a
ordinance.
really
You
good
don't wanna
job
see
at
cars
doing that.
underneath the building.
Yeah, we don't want cars underneath the building. So we have design
That's a
standards in the
different-
ordinance. Was that made available to you to understand? That the commissioners are bound by design standards and we can tell you, we want a brick, we want a wall enclosing the parking. It isn't about us not seeing cars. When you see an old building, they do their best to make sure that you don't see the parking underneath because they can't take down the building. But this is a brand-new building. We get to impose our design standards to look like the other buildings in the area. And the other buildings in the area look like, I don't know, on that whole area on the way to Woodward, was that Concord or something? They look like mansions of sorts. They look like brick mansions. They have limestone, they brick mansions. And then for some reason, you don't want to enclose the parking here with a brick structure or a limestone structure or brick with limestone structure. So we're going to see, and if we had a brick structure going across and enclosing the parking, you wouldn't see those cars in the back. You keep saying we're going to see the cars in the back. You see less cars from the place that people would have their residences if you had a lower level to this building, which is what we've been asking you. And you want a light building, and we're telling you that when it's part residential, and we have the ordinance behind us to impose design standards to look like other buildings, not exactly like other buildings, but other buildings in the city of Bloomfield Hills, we would like to have your parking lot enclosed. We would like to have a lower level of that building. If you don't want to do that, I don't know how some of us can sign on to that. I don't know if you have enough votes for us to sign on to that. Because that's
I
what, that
personally
looks
would
like an
sign
old
on
building.
If the green hedge was
8 foot high on the one end.
well, if it followed the line of the building, I'm fine with the green hedge.
To the horizon, just make it to the
Yeah.
horizon. Trim it to the horizon. What do you think the gap is between, on the road there, what do you think the gap is between the hedge and the building? Just
I believe it's a little bit more than 8 feet to the underside
the-
at the
the-
low level, so
the
probably
gap, yeah.
3, slightly over 3 feet.
So could you maintain 3 feet all the way to the left?
Sure.
I mean, to me, that would solve your horizon issue.
How about this? Can we have the rendering of what the back of the red car looks like when people are driving up that street? Okay, so no hedge can cover up all, everyone looking at all the parking behind because he didn't want to enclose the bottom part of the building. No hedge can enclose that. This is a drive. This is on my side here. Well, is this people's homes on this side?
Well,
There's no
It's
homes
higher.
it's
on
an
the street.
aesthetic
Not
thing.
yet.
He wants it to look floating. It's his architectural.
Yeah, and that's fine for maybe another city, but we don't have floating cities. We don't have floating buildings in the city of Bloomfield Hills because we don't want to look at parking lots. We don't want to look at parked cars if we don't need to look at parked cars.
Let me summarize a little bit of what I just heard. So, question was raised, I think Commissioner Hassler raised the question about the sloping grade and the fact that the south end of the building, there's the distance between the grade and the underside of the building is much greater than it is the north end. And so the distance at the north end is probably about 3 feet. I think I heard you say between the using
Little
a
over 3
5-foot hedge is 3 feet. I think it might be more than that based on my look at the plans, but it might be a little bit more. But you could install a hedge where you maintained that whatever designated amount of space is required to screen the parking. So you can do that,
Yes.
okay? There's question about whether or not there's anything you can do on the building from this point of view. Because it's residential across the street, so is there anything that you can do on this side of the building that's gonna obscure what we're looking at right from this point of view?
No, short of a wall.
I don't quite understand why this doesn't all really make sense to me, because you have surface parking lot around this building, you're still gonna see cars on the surface parking lot. That has nothing to do with the building or any of the other screening.
I understand.
So, I mean, you're gonna see cars on this site. It's not there's no possible way to not see cars on this site. And then you're gonna drive around the corner to the south building, and you're gonna see cars in that parking lot, just as you see them now in that existing parking lot.
But my question is there anything that you can do on the south end of the building to soften the appearance of what we're looking at right here? I mean, I can look at this right now, and one thing you could do is you could connect those two 4-foot walls, and that's going to obscure everything you're looking at from this angle, and I think it's probably more distinct if you get a little bit further south on the street. So you could do that. I can look at the area between those posts, and it looks like there's a curb there or something. That could be a planting area. I think. Isn't there room
No,
right there?
there's not. I'm sorry.
What is it?
This is a stair that goes down, their parking is right up to that curb.
There's a park that goes down?
Yes, there's a stairway that comes out.
I
of
thought
the
it's
lower
in
area.
that, I thought it's in that building that's next to it. I thought
There's also a stair there.
I thought there was a stairway in the center. I thought the stairway is in,
There's a secondary stairway right here that comes out of that.
oh, I was under the impression that the stairway is here, in here.
No, that stairway does not go down.
This doesn't go down?
Correct. It goes to the surface parking lot.
Where does this door go?
Not showing on this. What page are you on?
So this is the stair area here. So this comes out to the lot. Comes out to the lot. So there's so here's that stair that comes from down below. Then there's a stair here that's on the other end. If you look at this plan, this goes into the building. This comes across here.
So, do you see what I'm pointing to?
Uh-huh.
So, what's in this area? I thought this was the stairway that is depicted on the lower level. I thought that was that stairway right there. No, to the south. No, down, no,
It is not.
this is south. There you go.
That's the stairway you're looking at in that rendering that we were just talking about. In the rendering we were looking at, where you're talking about, these are the two 4-foot limestone piers here.
Okay,
This is that area that had the curb around it.
so what's in this area right here? Isn't there a stairway in here too?
There's a stairway that goes up from the parking level, from the surface parking level.
So this stairway goes to the building?
Correct.
Upstairs?
For
to
the
second
surface
floor?
parking.
To the second floor?
Correct.
So you've got the entry here,
There's also an entry there, yes.
so,
So you come across here where you see this, with this hatched area, so that's against the building, so you would walk from the parking lot, you can go into the main entry, or you can go up in the stair that's here. Or you can come up the sidewalk here from these parking spaces down here.
Why is this door on this side of the building? Can you put it on the other side of the building?
It can be on either side.
Can you put the stairway in here? I mean, it almost seems like you'd want the same stairway going from the underground parking up to the ground
No,
level?
because the underground parking goes directly into the building. The secondary stair is really just for an additional egress point.
Okay, well, this all goes back to my suggestion that you put some kind of green vegetation in there, and you're saying you can't.
I don't really have any room to do that.
Because you need another staircase.
I mean, this is all paving area here, so I don't really have room to put green there. So we're fully screening along this side here. We're screening along this side here. I could look at Eric's.
Are residences right over there, Chairman, where it says district minimum, north side, is that where residences can be built?
Well, that's vacant land.
Yes, but can residences be built there?
Yes.
So
Vacant
every
land
time
is
the architect
across.
tells me, don't worry about that, there are no residences, residences are gonna be built there. And what we're getting from the architect is, I'm sorry, I
This is
can't.
residential land right here.
Yes, so residences are gonna be built there. We don't normally have residences and, commercial buildings next to each other. When we do, we have conflict. Other cities like Royal Oak have it every block, which is why their ordinances are a lot more, well, they're just, it's a Bible. Because residences shouldn't have to look at your open staircase and your 4-foot pillars and your cars.
This is an existing building, office building right here in a parking lot.
So at 300 Park on Woodward, as we're driving down, there are parked cars, but there's a wall. And pillars, and limestone pillars. At 390 Park, there's a wall and soldier pillars going around. At the former Albans, which is now the office building, they put a brick wall there so people driving on Woodward don't have to see parked cars. These are just things that cities do to cut down on the amount of cars that they're seeing. And you're asking us as planning commissioners and mayors to do something different because you just want a lighter
Like I said,
building.
I grew up in a really contemporary, all architects,
Yes,
grandfather,
yes.
father, brother, all of them, very contemporary. Did a lot of
Your
lot of
beautiful
office
house.
buildings, city buildings. I can appreciate, this is not what they would build, but I can appreciate this architect, this is his style. He wants the building to look floating. Is that what you're trying to achieve? Is the building is kind of floating? But it's still, in my mind, still got to look like something, it's standing on something. So I don't mind, I like the limestone personally. I'm sorry, I'm not a traditional
No, I've seen your beautiful homes.
red brick kind of gal, but I appreciate all kinds of architecture, but I'm just trying to point out that there are different kinds of architecture. I think he's trying to go for a contemporary aesthetic. And yes, it's unfortunate that there are residents next door, but when they build there, they're gonna know they're next to, their zone next to an office building. So I see what you're trying to say, but I don't have a problem with, as long as that green hedge goes across, I don't have a problem with the fact that when you look in the entrance, that you see some cars. I mean, that's the fact of being next to an office building. And then there's that office building across the street that's a very traditional home turned into an office building. And, you do see cars there. So I don't think it's fair to penalize him in that regard. But I understand your different viewpoint, but I think his architecture is such that those 4-foot wide pillars and the limestone I'm fine with. I'm not confident that those pillars seen in the visual, any of the drawings, are 16 inches. I think they look they should be beefier. That's just my own opinion, but.
Okay. Does anyone else have comment right now? I'm going to go back to my question. Is there anything on the south side of the building that you can do to soften the appearance? Where those columns are? If you were to tell me, so I'm trying to get comfortable with what you have, personally. I'm comfortable if we have a guarantee that that distance between the underside of the building and the top of the hedge, and the hedge would have to, by our agreement, always have to be in place. If it ever died out, or if we ever saw a car, you'd almost have to put in a double row of hedges, since that's such an important criteria, at least for some of the people here.
Well, I think Mr. Sassine would certainly want the
Sure,
hedge to stay
but
intact.
I'm just trying to
visually.
bring this down to some point where we can come to agreement so we can move this along.
Absolutely agree with your
so-
comment. Yes, we can make that.
So you can
level
do
across.
that, and would have to agree that this is, maybe it's an offset, installation of Hicks IUs that are whatever height they need to be, so that we're not gonna see through it. But then you just have the south end. If you were to tell me, if it turned out that that wasn't that stairway, and you could have put in something matching on that small section where those posts are, and you would say, oh yeah, we can put in vegetation right there, that softens up the south side of the building, that would actually almost get me over the hurdle here. So is there anything you can do, if you go back to that picture, to soften up the south side of the building? Because, to Mayor's point, there are differences in style, and we all have to appreciate these differences in style. So when we look at that, you know, it's not softened. If you were to be able to put where that wall is, go back to, you know where I'm, no, you were there. Well, wherever those, in
What is your, I'm sorry, what are you looking?
we're between those posts. It's hard,
So
no,
you're
you're there.
looking
Yeah, if you were able to put in some kind of green there that matched the high oak side, I'd feel better. But there's nothing you can do to soften that up, right? Because there's no room there.
I don't have the dimension.
And you can't put, that stairway doesn't go inside that, you can't put the stairway inside that building.
Can't put the stairway
The
inside.
stairway coming from the underground, I would almost think from a safety point of view, for protection, that you would almost want that stairway inside that building, so it's,
Snow and ice.
so it's not accessible, for a whole lot of reasons. Since this is a private parking area, I would almost think that you'd want it inside that building.
Well, we have it on this end for a couple of reasons. One, it's farther away from the building entrance, so you have exits on opposite ends of that lower level. So we want something that's on this end. Secondly, that probably is hardly ever going to get used. It would be more of an egress point, because people are going to be going into the building when they're driving down underneath. But someone could come up here if they needed to, if there was, let's say, a fire down there and you couldn't get into the building, you can get out this end of the parking below.
What's the wall you have around there? What's that?
It's a glass.
It's glass? Okay, so that's gonna be a glass wall. Did you see that?
What's that, what are those stairs gonna look like going down? Is that just gonna be like a steel tread on?
They would be a concrete stair that would go down. no one's seeing the stair or the ramp or any of those things
Actually,
from the
It's the only
road.
thing you see when you walk into the building. If you park in any of those places, you're gonna walk right by that. But, so, there's nothing you can do to soften up that, and that stairway is.
I
the
don't
stairway.
physically have the dimension.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to having something green there, but I don't have the room to do it.
Would you want that brick instead of glass? Would that soften it? Like match the brick that's up above, make that, would that soften it? For you all? The glass, I think, is gonna look dirty and ugly after a while.
Well, and actually, what I'm looking at, Susan, is you're gonna look right down into, how are the walls finished on the stairways? That's gonna be just raw concrete too, right?
It will be smooth finished concrete.
Yeah, I call that raw concrete. So, it's gonna look really utility, it's gonna have a utility look to it. You're gonna be looking down a narrow, what is that stairway, about 4 feet wide? You're gonna be looking at that, it's just gonna be a concrete walls on both sides, and you're gonna have the glass around. I guess to your point, Susan, that could almost be a possibility. Not that we're gonna design that at this point, but I guess I didn't realize those were stairs. I thought the stairs were inside the building.
Well, I didn't realize that was glass. I mean, in the winter and plowing and everything, that's just gonna look. I would make, I think softening it.
So the east side, I guess I'm hearing, Tom's comfortable with 3 feet. I think, Mayor's comfortable with 3 feet. Catherine, I don't think is happy with 3 feet.
No, we're not comfortable with it all.
Do you have an opinion?
I mean, 3 feet gap between the top of
Yes.
the hedge and.
Yeah, so if-
Yeah, is, I mean, following it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're making headway. The south end, I guess I'm just not comfortable with that stairway right now in those columns. I think we can get over the hurdle of the width of these columns. Someone asked the question whether or not you can make those columns on the east side of the building wider. Can you or not?
I can't make them wider in the east-west direction. You can make them wider in the north-south direction, I guess.
Why is that?
So I don't have the space.
No.
I can't go into the ramp.
Okay, I get it. But you can make them north-south, right? Is that what you said?
They would
You
look-
can make
they would
them
look-
wider when you're looking at it from the east?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we look at the south, can we look at the Long Lake view of this again?
That's one long lake view. That's one long lake view. That's one long lake view. I guess those are the three that I
That's
have.
great, you hold it on that one. So, in our design aesthetics, you have, we can look inside that building. We can drive by and look inside that building at nighttime and it will be lit up. I mean, as architect, you've thought of that.
There's glass there. If
Yeah.
it's lit, yes.
Okay, so what are people looking at when they're driving by this building with the glass on this side as opposed to the,
Well, the
Shutters on
white
the
band
other
that you
side.
see below the the gentleman standing in there,
yeah?
that is back at the edge of the parking lot. That's where that line is. That's not up against the glass. So that's a 2-story space. It's about 15 feet in or so.
Oh, so you don't see anything, there are no cubicles or anything along those lines that you're looking at from from Long Lake?
We
Lit
actually,
up?
though.
Yeah, you
Catherine,
really
Yeah, there are
wouldn't
other
see.
buildings. there
There,
that
the
do.
one, I don't know who owns
The old
the one.
Avery building.
Old Agree building.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all glass,
Yeah.
and they have cubicles and things like that. They can have it, the only thing they cannot do is have your computer screen on with the name of the company in there, so if there's a
Right.
signage to be out, you can't do that.
This is all the trees that you're proposing to cover this side of the building from? Or your
This-
rendering's not accurate?
This rendering's been changed so many times. The
You know, it's-
landscape plan is the correct plan. There might be less tree or something here. This The rendering is for visual understanding of the concept of the building.
In-
These aren't the
But you didn't
exact
label the
tree
pillars
species. I don't
in the
have,
drawing,
I
so
don't
that's-
have something that does
This is
that.
all we have to go on. You didn't label the pillars width in the drawing.
I'm just saying, this,
So you're telling us.
this
to
isn't,
look
this
at
may
one
not
way
be
and
the
one
exact
other.
tree that's on the landscape plan at this
Do
point.
do you not have anyone in your office who can do accurate renderings of,
Well,
of what you are building right now? Like an employment issue that you can't, when you come in here in 1 month's time, you can't give us, I mean, we don't even have anything in our packet that showed us this view. So we didn't have anything when we're looking at this to figure out what exactly did the landscape look like? And I'm sorry you haven't been to other planning commission meetings where architects have to do this. Landscape architects have to show us everything that we're looking at, when every tree that we're looking at, when we're trying to approve of a building. They don't get to give us inaccurate measurements of posts or columns or walls, or show us, or have a make-believe hedge that looks like it's covering all of the posts, but actually it's not, unless it's 8 or 9 feet high. They don't get away with that, but you keep getting angrier and angrier with us for you not having someone in your office, or you who didn't think it was important to give us accurate renderings of what it looks like, so we
So
can make
what-
a decision.
So if we can summarize then some of the points we got here. I want to get back to these elevations. Yes,
Could I ask the architect one question?
sure.
Because I've been relatively quiet. Looking at what we're on the screen now, I think we're on Long Lake, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you see into the parking garage through that glass?
No.
What is it that you see underneath those figures? What do you see?
Okay, you can see, those are these right here. This,
Yes. What precisely is that?
that's the columns that are on the other side.
The other side of what?
That's the columns that we've been talking about along the hedge.
on the east side of,
Oh, that's glass that looks through that?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's what I'm trying to see. What is that glass? What are you looking through? What are we looking at?
Hang on. So this is the vestibule that's underneath. You walk up from the right-hand side. Long Lake Road is out here.
That's not helpful. That view's
This
not-
section is two-story above where this desk is sitting right there. You see it kind of juts back here, so that's an opening. That's
Oh, I
that
see.
two-story area. So this line right here is where that man was standing, right there. So that's
the reception is
that's
right
set
there.
back, so there's the reception.
So you're looking at the receptionist, not the parking garage. Is that correct?
I don't think you're gonna see anything out there. You're certainly not gonna see cars, but
Well,
you're
that's what
seeing
I'm-
the top of a column there, yes.
What I'm trying to get at, if I'm on Long Lake, waiting patiently for the lights to change so I can get down the street, and I look to the left, and there's enough light, am I looking into the reception area, or am I looking in somehow the garage?
This is the reception area right here. But you're seeing, there's glass on the back side of that.
I understand. I'm just trying to understand.
There's glass on the back side underneath.
so the parking is underneath this level,
This is the parking right here. We're on the parking level.
not the
We're on the
underground,
main parking level.
but not the underground.
No, this
Yeah.
is surface parking.
Right.
So Long Lake Road is up here.
So, let me just summarize for me, I'm sorry to, you're on Long Lake, you look to the left, what do you see?
You're on Long Lake, here's what you see. Here's what you see. This is as you come in, if you're familiar with how High Oak comes in off of Long Lake. So
I
this
am.
would be coming in off of that corner. So this is before you just rotate around to High Oak, which would be on the left side
The
of
left
the
side,
screen.
yeah.
This would be Long Lake here, so you'd be coming in to High Oak in that drive right there.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No,
So can you summarize, like, where are we, and we haven't, still on this whole column piece, right?
Well-
And I think you've got us comfortable there.
on the east side, I can't speak for everyone, but I think there's some general agreement that if the hedges are not more than 3 feet from the underside of the building, that there's a comfort level among many of the commissioners with the east side of the building. There's still question about how wide those columns are. We can address that, but the larger issue is that 3 feet distance seems to be okay. The south end of the building, personally, I'm still not comfortable with it. There's that glass stairway that's going down into that glass barrier that's going down into the stairway. It's just this concrete structure. If there was some way to soften that, I'm just throwing out.
If I had room on the site,
Yeah, I guess.
I'd plant something there for you.
No, I'm sure you would, but if you could put this, I just don't understand why you can't put the stairway inside the building.
'Cause he
I
doesn't
mean,
want to.
normally stairways are, they
But if
run
you
up
take one of
and,
his parking spots, if it were at that end.
No, it's already a staircase in there. He just didn't want to extend it up in the building.
We would like to
For
have
safety,
that
so-
stairway
Yeah.
separated as far as possible for egress.
That's fine.
So if there's a fire on the north end of the building or the north end of the parking area, you can get out the south end. So that's the reason for
Well-
that stairway.
Are you opposed to making it brick, so it's not,
I'm sorry?
are you opposed to making that brick? It would kind of hide the,
I don't, it really doesn't fit with, with the building. I mean, it's just not, it's random. I mean, it just, it's just not, to put a brick wall here, just, I don't know, it's just
Oh, you mean like that brick wall?
kind of an
Like to
unusual-
match the brick
kind
wall
of an
that's around
unusual
there?
thing. What's that?
You mean to match like the brick wall you have on the garbage or the brick wall you have on the wall over here that would stand out? It seems like it would
Well, those
coordinate
aren't
just
part
fine.
of the building, they're just a trash enclosure.
what about the brick on the top part?
This here isn't even our wall.
No. on
Or
the
do you guys
building.
want it to be limestone? No, I mean, you just don't want the glass, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's just the glass, yeah, it would be nice if it was limestone.
so next to that car,
Yeah, can it be
that's,
there?
that's, that silver car there, so that enclosed area, what's in that enclosed area? Do you see what,
Right here,
Yes.
yeah, that
there's
box?
2 parking spaces.
No, I'm saying to the
Yeah,
left of
enclosed
that,
area?
to the
Here?
left of the
Yes.
car? Yeah,
That's the stairway.
okay, that's a large, wide area. I mean, that's more than
Okay.
one stairway. And I just
You're-
I don't see it in the plan.
You're seeing it on an angle, I guess, perhaps.
Oh.
Same thing with sometimes these columns, you're looking at them on a 45, so they're a little bit wider.
How wide is that area right there?
This
Yes, yep.
stairway is roughly, I think, 22 feet, 24 feet,
From north to south?
yes, and about 10 feet wide.
And so it's not possible to have the stairway just drop straight down into the lower level?
We lose parking if we do that.
Well, you just move the parking place, wouldn't you?
We would lose parking spaces down
So-
below.
so-
We
so
don't
that
have parking in
is
front
the
of it up
part- Is
above,
the stairway going north and south or east and west?
going north and south.
Okay, so this remains an open issue. Let's talk about the rooftop. Where does everyone stand with the rooftop terrace?
I'm opposed.
I'm opposed as well on the rooftop. I can't get comfortable with it, but I do have a suggestion for you. This last weekend, I was driving around several of our office buildings in the city, And several of them in the back have gotten really creative with, there's this one on Woodward right around the corner, the white brick building. And if you go to the back of the building, they took what would be a garden area, you know, shrubs and things like that, and they made it a landscaped area with you know, beautiful little garden area with tables and chairs and things like that. Why can't you take that banked parking space you have over there and kind of level that off and make it a garden area for the south building and the north building, and have that be a little outdoor area and not be on top? I can't get comfortable with the top because I do feel we will open up Pandora's box, and everybody, and the next person who's gonna, you know, we know Little Daddy's is gonna be an office building, and they're gonna go, I want something on the rooftop too. And we would have nothing to go against. So I just think you have space there. You could build a really nice outdoor area for your people.
Well, what I'm hearing, and I'll look at Salim, you know, we'll just eliminate the rooftop patio area. And at that point, I don't see the need to, you know, the stair element that was going up was for maintenance of the rooftop units and the green roof area, because there's a little bit more work on that than just having a hatch, but, you know, that's a ZBA issue we'd have to go through if that's something that's a huge deal, but. If we're not bringing people up there, you know, for that patio area, then there is less need for that stair. It's good for the maintenance, but it's, you know, that was the bigger element of it.
So would they still have to go in front of ZBA if they brought that stair
No
down?
one else has a staircase like that for
If-
maintenance.
If you brought it down, they wouldn't have to go in front of ZBA?
You wouldn't even know, we wouldn't even bring it there. It would
So
just
you
be
wouldn't,
gone.
that structure would disappear.
Yeah, that would just be
The
gone.
stru-
Okay,
right.
so that eliminates
So-
you going to the ZBA.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to, we'd go to a roof hatch scenario.
So that's Susan's view. The mayor, I think, you're comfortable with.
I'm
the
comfortable
rooftop.
with the rooftop.
Okay.
But I still didn't see the rooftop image from Long
Okay.
Lake either, so that it doesn't show the
So
structure
Commissioner
on top of the
Hosser,
building.
How do you feel?
I'm with,
The straight-on one? Can you
the,
show me?
the removal.
You don't see it you won't
Okay.
see it from straight on. That's why I went to the angle. This is the only.
No. What's yours?
Well, I'm very pleased that the owner said he would be willing to just eliminate it, to create peace in the community.
Okay. And Tom, do you have an opinion? I don't want to leave you out.
My opinion is, and I think we talked about this before, we suggested that they should put in a tall hedge. That was around the idea of having a rooftop. Now they come back with a tall hedge. I don't see
Okay.
an issue with it.
All right. But I guess at the end of the day, owner is willing to set aside that request? Okay, so, if that gets set aside, then the rooftop element in terms of the building is eliminated.
Correct.
And any ZBA appearance is eliminated, and that sort of cleans up that whole element. We don't even have to discuss that. Yes, sir.
We still have other issues to deal with.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
but we're talking
No,
about-
yeah, I get it, Mark. I'm trying to whittle away at these outstanding issues here. So
They
that,
could keep the parapets because they're add to the design, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's not gonna.
We wouldn't be taking the parapet.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're the
you're
edge
just
of the
taking
design,
the
yeah.
building out, and
The stairway, it would
you don't need,
not be there.
Yeah.
It would
most
stop
buildings,
at the roof line.
most buildings don't have that, so there's no need,
No,
I
no
mean,
one has it.
you don't need it for maintenance, you'll have, so that goes away. Are there other issues or questions with this proposal?
The width of the pillars
Okay, the width of the pillars
on the east side.
on the east side of the building.
As I stated, we can increase them north-south. I can't increase them east-west.
And how wide would you be willing to increase them?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't want them to be any wider than the ones on the south side. To me,
4 feet?
to me, 4 feet it's really too wide, but they could be widened.
The city manager thought that he was looking at something that was thin this way and long that way. Is that what the
That's,
posts look like
that's
right
what
now?
those would be, they
Which
would
is
be
fine with me.
narrower east-west than north-south.
The ones that we're looking at that are by the glass staircase right now, those are 4 feet wide, and how deep are they?
These are the same depth, these are the same size, north-south as the smaller ones, but they're just wider.
So
But-
would
but
it-
an-
So we're
but
saying that
actually
we
how
could,
big?
if you took this column and you rotated it and put it on the right side of that car, that would be, it would be the same width, but it would be longer north and south.
So you don't know what the exact measurement is of how deep it is?
16 inches is what we've been talking about, so
No,
it's 4
You're the
feet.
architect, we don't know, and we can't tell from these drawings. So you're saying it's 16 inches this way, 4 feet this way.
That
And
is
you're saying
correct.
the ones that the mayor is talking about on this side,
These are the same width, we could make
They
them
can't-
longer in this direction, but
well,
not.
it
in
wouldn't
this.
wouldn't that match what she's asking you for, which is a 4 foot wide, 16 deep, 4 feet,
Yes.
4 feet wide? So she's asking you that, and you said, no, you can't do that.
I did not say I couldn't do it, I said I prefer not to, but yes, we can.
Okay, you can, because you do have room to do that.
We have room north-south, I can't.
Well, exactly.
can't
But
enclose
she's
the
asking you,
sidewalk.
she's asking you for the 4 feet this way, 4
Correct.
feet this way, so they don't look like little tiny posts. And you can do that, yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so we still have this glass in the stairway going down. Any other ideas of what we can do with that?
Well, the stairway needs to be there. And honestly, I don't feel that it looks right, filling that in and making that a solid wall there. It certainly isn't going to screen all of this parking. It's going to do very little additional. So I guess I would ask that we be able to keep the look of this.
I'm fine with it.
I'm okay. The owner was kind enough to hear our rooftop, and, I mean, as long as I don't have to clean that glass, I'm fine.
So keeping the glass, keeping the airiness of it, the chairman had asked, can't you just put planters in front and soften that area? And the architect has said, no, we don't have any room. But up on the proposed rooftop, they had hedges that were like this wide. So you're saying that you can't put
We have dimensional
planter-
requirements for driveways and stuff, and I don't physically have the dimension. I'm not against putting it there. If someone wants me, allow me to take a foot out of the drive width and put it there.
Are you saying you want like a trailing
Soften.
planter on top of the glass or something?
No, in front of the glass, keeping the glass airiness of it, because a lot of it is looking at it from inside the building. He's trying to keep the airiness of the building.
So
We're
you're
talking about softening it from this side, and the commissioner had proposed that there was some kind of, we had a hedge on this side. In fact, if we're looking at that hedge where that man is standing in the khakis, if we've talked about this, is that post that the arrow is on right now, is that actually about 11 feet high? That post, is that the one that's on the angle? Yes.
Roughly.
Yes, so
From
that's about
grade.
an 11-foot high post.
From, it's,
Right?
shorter than that on the curb, but
Okay,
from,
10 foot.
from asphalt, it would
Yes,
be,
okay,
yes.
asphalt. Anyway, and then that hedge, to make it only be seen by a commissioner who wants to only see 3 feet of it, it's gonna be about 7-8 feet high on that end.
That would be correct.
Yeah. And so what we're saying is to soften it, is there any ability to put planters? And if that's a variance, that 1 foot less of a driving space it would be a pretty easy thing to get past the other committee. If you are softening an area with 8-foot hedges on this side and you're just softening the area, you're just bringing in planters, you're bringing in some green.
You're saying you want arborvitae's along there or something?
It doesn't have to, the wall is only 4 feet. It's a softening thing. I'm fine looking at your 4-foot walls. I don't, at that point, you've now made you've come in here in the third time, and you're agreeing to what we've been asking for, which is something that's a little more substantial, which is now we have 4-foot walls by 16, 1, 2, 3, if I'm correct? Or maybe that's 4.
Yes.
2 here, we're asking for that. Obviously, the chairman doesn't think she should be softening it on this side. I agree. If you were able to do a 1-foot planter like you were proposing on the roof and put some soft plants, some greenery there, that would soften this side of it. And I'm wondering if you would consider that. Or owner of building who's developing this beautiful area and you want it to look beautiful, would you consider that? Not the architect, would you consider that? Or what are your problems with it?
Telling you,
Yeah.
I own the property on forefront, on the south side of the Restoration Hardware. And on the back side of it, I have strip about 18 inches wide, bordering the parking lot.
Yeah.
Every other year, I have to replace that green. It just died because of snow, not enough terrain, not enough rain. So getting greenery in this side, I could, please you take a look at it on the other side, which is on the west side of the building. It's dying every other year.
Yeah, and we're opposed to fake plants in our city, so, okay, that's a good, thank you. Thank you.
I see, you're doing this because this is glass all the way around there, isn't it?
It's a
So see the
staircase.
guy in the khaki?
Yeah.
He's
Standing next to glass.
right?
Yes,
Right.
And the other way is all glass, so that's why you're bringing it all the way around.
correct.
Okay, so,
Oh, I know one more thing. Sir, can you give us what the landscape plans would look like from the accurate landscape plans? Like, just understand what other people have done when they come in here and you want to build this building. And I think the Mayor Pro Tem until tonight had put forward last time, we want you to build your building. Go ahead, we just have these issues. So we did that for you already. What we're asking for you to do is to show us what the landscaping would look like, the actual landscaping from all areas. Can you do that for us? Okay, thank you.
so, I guess we're mostly comfortable with the elevations now, I think. The east side, south side, south side's not changing, it's gonna look like this. With the east side, those hedges, can you bring that right down to the parking lot?
Sure.
You can do that, right?
Sure.
So if you look at the east elevation, so now we're gonna see,
It
Yeah.
comes down probably like to here.
yeah, so
Probably a
it
few-
looks like
couple
there's
more
another
feet.
5 or 6 feet. You can bring it,
We can bring it like this area right here.
yeah, just bring it all the way
Sure.
down. And so we've concluded on the posts.
Mr. Chairman, then you're gonna obscure people coming up the ramp, and the ramp people can't see. Can we leave that back at that post?
I agree.
Okay?
Sorry.
No.
I'm sitting there, I'm just
No,
thinking.
you're
No, that's,
you're right. I think that's why it ended up stopping there.
Yeah,
You're
we want
right.
clear sight.
Then they're gonna have to put one of those big ugly mirrors there, and then we'll be all upset about
Oh,
that.
those engineers see
Okay.
everything.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Yes.
Are there any other, not yet, are there any other issues that you have? Have we tackled all these issues? Yes? Okay.
Tom?
You good? Okay.
Okay, I'd like to propose we approve the request of property owner at 180 High Oak, with the exceptions of eliminating the rooftop building and increasing the size of the pillars, the limestone, correct? Pillars, to all being 4 feet wide,
16.
and at least 16 feet deep, as viewed from the east side on High Oak, matching the south side, and to edit the hedge so that the line of the hedge, it matches the base of the building with a maximum of 3-foot gap all the way along, and that the city manager approves the final landscape drawing. Is that? And-
It does. Can I ask you to add one thing?
You bet.
That into perpetuity, that hedge always completely screen 100% the area that it's intended to, that it be a complete, well-maintained green hedge.
Completely screened, that the hedge always completely screened, and all the cars, and at least the height of the cars,
Level to the
Level.
horizon.
level
Right.
to the horizon.
Mayor, what would you like to see from the city manager for landscaping on the Long Lake side?
I'd like you to add, what would you like to see?
I would just like to see a plan that's on that side. So we're approving of this because we have the building approved, but do we approve of the landscaping?
Yeah.
Of
I
what
don't
it
think
looks
she
like,
was
because
here.
it's
Well,
not accurate
can
what
we-
they're showing
Can
us.
we have the city manager?
We have a landscape plan, you might not have been here yet.
Yeah, I would like
I
to.
was here all 3 times. Yeah, the landscape plan.
Yeah, I don't know where I think that was yours.
You said the removal of the rooftop
I can find it from there.
building, we're also including all landscaping
Hedging.
improvements and all the rest. There's no improvements on the roof.
No improvements on the roof.
It was towards the,
Can we add
Here we
that
go.
to the,
Except
Amy?
for, I mean, that's an important point.
very important, no
So-
building, no
so
11-foot building.
Right now,
No hedges.
right now, we do not have a screening plan for the hardware, the appliances that are on the roof. So, where is,
yeah, that's the area behind the stair that
Yeah, it's
Well-
shown.
would still remain on the roof.
okay, so that doesn't change, where is that? Can you just show us?
Hang on, I got. Oops. Right there, behind the stair, to the south of the stair.
Oh, I
So,
see.
No,
so
the
that
rendering.
squared in, that rectangular area, that is going to remain. Everything else is going to be eliminated.
We'll just make more green roof.
What's it look?
Okay, so,
And what is the material that's covering the mechanical?
It's a zinc metal that matches the
Okay.
building.
so it's gonna just go up to a hatch that's on the roof.
We'll have a hatch that will come out of the stair that's there.
Right. So,
Would you still, you're gonna put AstroTurf up on the roof?
It's not, it's live, it's a live roof.
So is that gonna be accessible to pedestrians walking around up there?
No, no.
no, it's just your typical.
It was never meant to, people were never meant to be outside of the hedgerow there.
Do you mow the roof?
No, it's natural grow.
Okay, so you've got the stair going up to a hatch, and the only thing that's really gonna be visible is the screen that is around the air conditioning units.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Amy, do you mind reading that back? Sorry. I just want to make sure the chairman's comfortable with it.
The only thing on the rooftop is the mechanical screening that's currently proposed. Do you want all the conditions or just about the rooftop? The other 3 were,
The pillars are 4 feet wide by,
pillars are 4 feet wide, remove all the rooftop equipment, or all the rooftop, the hedge will remain continuously 3 feet gap between the top of the hedge and the building. Pillars will be limestone 4 feet by 16 inches. The city manager will approve the landscape plan. Into perpetuity, the hedge will remain completely screened 100% to the level of horizon.
great. Any other, Chairman? You would like any other?
No, I think.
Great.
Okay, so,
In the ZBA.
oh, and, yep, go ahead.
Don't forget there was other conditions as well, the ZBA variances that were required. I think there was conversation about approval of the EV sign
And subject to
Oh,
the,
and
the engineering?
Jamie indicated
And
that,
the engineer's letter of October 30th, 2025 should be addressed.
what is that all about?
Well, there's just a,
Oh, all the issues they have,
Oh,
yeah.
Can you use a sign in the city that says no EV cars that looks nice? Like,
I know, that one looks.
I mean, can you?
Tell me,
can
what do you want to look?
No, you just need to have people not park there.
Yeah,
You
we
can
just-
make it. You can make your own sign that looks
Is
nice.
that like a
right?
standard sign, Jamie? that-
Because it's for your
Well-
employees, right?
Well, Lee is a big-time traffic engineer, I mean, if we're gonna do it right, let's do it right, let's talk black and gold.
Yeah.
Okay,
Make
based
that
on,
condition,
okay,
we'll look into
subject to
it.
approval.
Yeah, that's
by-
fine.
It can't be this big, otherwise it can't be that
Right.
big.
Right.
Yeah,
Lee is a
it's gotta be
With
black
the
and gold.
EV,
We
the no
we
EV
were,
sign.
we were more giving you, this is where we would suggest that it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
And-
You're going to make it look nicer.
We're happy to work with them on color and size and
So based
description,
on
however
approval
you want it to be.
Of city manager and HRC.
okay. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
seconded.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So,
Great.
you've been through this a couple of times. Thanks, for coming in front of us. We just want to make sure that whatever is built in the city conforms, and we look forward to your project.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Just for your information, my OSHA, the OSHA
Yes.
requirement, if you are within 10 feet away from the parapet, no one in the guardrail is. It's in a.
If you can keep people away from leaving and going
That's
onto the
a-
green
we have a-
space?
we're the
Oh, yeah, you have
consultant
that.
engineer, so, one of the OSHA requirement, as long as you are away 10 feet away from the parapet, nothing is needed.
Is there going to be,
Huh?
We
well,
have to have the parapet. Something.
I'm looking forward to seeing your building
Thank you.
on a Big Beaver too.
Well, I was trying to do a nice place, net zero carbon, keep the carbon in the ground, not bring it out, having a green roof that will be pleasant for the employee to go and have lunch. Awesome.
It's impressive. that
All
you-
your
It's a
buildings,
green
thank you.
building, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
our next item is the planning commission will consider the request of the property owner at 3376 Horton Road for grading variance to construct a new home.
Okay, our next item for consideration is 3376 Quarton Road. This is a grading appeal, I'll just give some introductory slides and also state that we had met with the applicant on a few occasions to discuss the challenges with this site. So it is located within the A3 zoning district along the north side of Quarton Road, just east of Nantucket. The challenges with the site are related to the existing grading to the northeast corner of the site. When this came in for building permit application and review, our analysis of the proposed home did meet all the ordinance standards. So we went through the standard practice of just establishing the front yard line along Quarton, the two side yards in yellow, and then the rear yard on the back side of the property. So with that, it's a one-story home that's proposed. I believe the floor plans show that there's a bonus room on a second story, but for the most part, it's a one-level and then a basement level as well. And so then as you go around the building on the west side, this would be the garage that faces Quarton over here. So this would be the back side of the building. And then a view facing the back. So again, the garage was on this side. This is the back area. And this is the area where there's challenges with the grading that the city engineer will dive into the details on that. And then the opposite side of the house, this would be the east side, showing the main portion here, the garage wing in this location, and again, that portion of the northeast property where there's some grading challenges. So as I mentioned, we went through the minimum setbacks of the home, the algebraic setback analysis, everything checks out. As I mentioned, it's a somewhat lower of a home because it is just a one-story, well, two with the bonus addition room. And then the landscaped open space, they're at approximately 76.43%, so they're in compliance with the the 75% open space requirement. So that's an introduction to what's proposed on the lot. Everything meets the standards of the ordinance for building permits, except that there is a appeal for the grading.
I'm sorry, Mark, I have to say, I do live in the subdivision in Rudgate, but I live at the far north end, they're at the far south end, and there's like 120 houses, so I feel I can be, you know, not a next door neighbor, it's not gonna affect me whatsoever. I just live in Rudgate Wood.
Yeah, you've got no, are you a member of the association?
No. No, goodness.
Jamie Burton with HRC again, don't live anywhere near the house. Okay, first I'm gonna mention in my review letter, I made an edit last minute, and it talks about why we're here today. Cuts of 5 and cuts of 7 or something like that. It's supposed to say fills up to 5, cuts up to 7. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit, but.
No one would even.
You noticed it, well, I heard all about it, so yeah, you got it, okay. So why we're here today, I'm gonna use a pointer and I'm gonna go quick. So, the ranges, the applicant put together a good chart of information, which I believe is now on your desk. And so, right up in here is where there's some areas of fill. They, as Eric mentioned, they met with our staff, came in, they've done a lot. I don't wanna say that they haven't listened, they haven't come in, but they've done some lot, they've added some walls, they've done some additional work to try to minimize this. But here is in the corner here, the fill location, and it's really to kind of around the side of this house, as you saw in the in Eric's in the side view rendering in this kind of location here. It's really to kind of level out across the front of the house. The bigger issue that I think is in this back, where they've got, and you know, some of the confusion a little bit is these shadings look really pretty good, pretty tight together. But right up in this corner is around 7 feet, okay, off of existing grades through here, and it steps this way down. So the ordinance speaks, in general terms, speaks to, well, kind of specific terms, sunken patios or sunken walkouts. That would be where it's all the way around is lower, so the water's just flowing towards the house, right? Kind of like a depression. And then forced walkouts, that's making grade changes, substantial grade changes to get a walkout. So I call that to your attention because this will drain out, and they've added swales along this property line down to the corner. So this isn't what I would call like a sunken patio. It's just there's 7 feet, 6 feet, 5 feet, 4, you know, all the way down as you work your way through to get to that spot. So we met with the applicant. The applicant, here's the kind of the swales along the property line from a drainage perspective. The drainage is from rear to front, so they're getting the water in and around the home. So we worked and we got to a spot. I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I believe we got to a spot where going further was not something that HRC was going to recommend approval for. We explained the options to come before you and ask and present their case. I think they've got a couple comments to be made about different things, but the idea being is a 7-foot cut down to grade. It really kind of pushes this into what we would define as a forced walkout. We do not want properties around the city just changing grade 8 feet, 7 feet, 4 feet, whatever, to get a walkout where the current grade doesn't exist. I said that intentional because I believe you'll hear from them a little bit more about the previous house and the house ripped down in like 2021, 2022, around that area, I think. So that's why you're here today. Eric mentioned it meets all other requirements. This is a pure grading request, which would be for 5 to 6 feet of fills in the front and cuts up to 7 feet in that back to create that walkout. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. It is pretty straightforward. And again, the applicant did work with us to get to this point, but it just wasn't enough for us to say this meets the ordinance.
What's allowed in cuts and what's allowed in fills without needing?
So anything more than 2 feet, we is kind of a slam dunk. We kind of look, it's site specific, and what I mean by that is if you just tore down your house and your basement was a bowl, right, and you took your topo and you came in and you were gonna raise that bowl up, then we would kind of, okay, let's talk about that. Anything more than 4, we have a hard line, we bring it back to the planning commission. Any grades above 2 that have to go to planning commission because it's going to planning commission for something else, we always include in that approval. But there is some latitude with us in administration if there's small little areas here and there. The issue
Numbers
here.
are consistent between fills and cuts.
Yep,
Yeah,
2 for both ways.
If you just remember 2 feet.
Yeah.
2 feet cuts and fills, that's all we take a look at. What he's saying is, if it's like a corner or something small, you know what I mean, of a
We
house
don't,
or something.
and we don't look inside of the actual structure, we don't,
Yeah.
for fills and patios and stuff.
But as a rule, it's 2 feet.
As a
no
rule, it's
cuts
2
and
feet.
fills.
And then, but in addition to that, the ordinance speaks to no sunken patios or walkouts and no forced walkouts. So, that's probably the bigger concern. Yes, ma'am.
That property, and I don't know who has this answer, the property, where, the magistrate said, let us just build this on this weird property and we'll build you a park in the city of Bloomfield Hills. The Martell one, right? Where they've covered everything the way we've asked, right? That one. Because of the site specific, did you allow them to have certain cuts and fills? When I walked around the property, it seems like they had a lot of cuts in order to get that. It used to just be an unbuildable hill.
Yeah,
It
so
was an
there was
unbuildable-
no quid pro quo with them on.
No, I
doing
just
stuff.
meant, did they have cuts and fills in order to make that work? On the
Yes,
property?
and they came before the planning commission. We treated that site specifically different than a normal home because it was more like a development, right? It was creating 2 lots where it used to be 4 lots. They made it into 1 lot. They were making it 2 lot. We really treated that more like a development. So if you think about any detention basin in town, it's gonna be more than 2 feet deep. So for commercial, before you go residential, we would allow a lot of that. We allow more of that occur. You can't meet your own standards on your berm height, on your standards in a commercial development. We treated that site materially different than we would treat an individual. They came in, got all their approvals for all their grading cuts and fills, but we made them put in stormwater management because it was a development of 2 homes instead of 1.
Are you opposed to this?
I'd like
Are
to
you
hear from the
worried?
applicant more about what the old house used to be, and I think that's where they're gonna talk to you guys about.
Yeah, we've seen that, but when you're talking about, you forced the other people who had to have an interesting lot like this, put in storm management.
Now, I'm not worried about the stormwater on this site. I would lay down in front of the bus if those retaining walls touched the house and there was no way by gravity to get the water, like a true sunken patio or bathtub,
Yeah.
I would scream bloody murder, say
Yeah.
you cannot do this.
But you don't see
Now
that.
it's bad, and I'm only doing that to protect the homeowner. We've got enough of those in the city over the years that we don't wanna do that. This does grade out, but historically, we have always said, do not create there's walkout lots in the city that are very easy, and there's walkout lots, flat lots that shouldn't be walkouts. There are special circumstances that occur to some of those, and I think that's their argument to you, that's why we said,
Okay.
we brought them before you. I like it, but I will not lay down in front of that train for this one, because the drainage will still work.
It will still work. See, we were looking at the house but we didn't have the grading at the same time. So,
Yeah, so,
okay.
no, it drains by gravity.
Can I ask you a question, Jamie?
Yeah.
What's the difference between this and the house on Brady Lane that had a forced walkout water machine that really cost me a lot?
Right.
Really did.
Okay.
Everything on Brady Lane.
Okay, so what caused the trouble there is what we would try to lay down in front of the train for, tie ourselves to the tree, which is there's no gravity natural outlet for drainage. In that case, the neighbor's drainage came to the other walkout that shouldn't have been there, and that walkout was in a bigger bowl that was over like 2 properties, if you remember, right? Kind of along the lot line. If we had a 10-inch rainstorm right here, the water by gravity would get down to Court Road.
They ended up filling in that walkout.
Yeah, they should have. Yeah. But that would be equivalent of, in that case, this is the neighbor's house, right? They had this, and the neighbors graded it, and it just there's no way regionally to get that out on that lot, over both lots. This, the water will get down to Court and won't impact anybody else. I think absent a compelling argument by the applicant to you guys, our recommendation is we don't do 7 feet of cut for a walkout. There's always compelling reasons, and that's why we're here. Yes, sir.
So in that regard, and I think it's important that we realize that that's sort of a standing rule, and when you start breaking that rule, then it becomes a real sort of difficult hurdle to get over when the next person comes over. But let me ask you,
Yes, sir.
sometimes when you're looking at some middle point, you might say, well, my plan is I'd like to do this big plan with this big walkout, but looking as I do at the variation in the grades, so you've got the red that goes down to a much shallower cut area.
They're meeting ordinance by the green, essentially.
Right. So when I look at the rear elevation, so like this thing, where the walkout is here, Jamie?
Yep, I'm trying to get to something so I can follow along.
Okay,
This
there
one?
you go.
That's it.
So, while, the big wish may be to have this real wide walkout, if they were to move the walkout to a smaller area, so in other words, lose some of those door walls on the left-hand side,
Yep, I'm listening. You can minimize it more.
yeah, so, maybe you give a little bit, but not the whole thing. Did you guys entertain that kind of thing? Or is it just because I've got this lower level and I want the whole thing exposed, and so I'm gonna go ask for the whole
I mean,
thing?
again,
But if they were able to just push that area.
the idea would be to have a on grade here.
Where are those door walls?
Those door walls are back, here's the door right here. It's all these windows is what you're looking at.
Okay. We didn't have this plan, so I wasn't sure what, and I was trying to figure it out when I was looking at it. So I was thinking the door walls were along the north side of the building.
So is this, I'm trying to, let me back up here. Let me make sure I give you the right picture here.
They run north to south on the east end.
So this is, well, that was that door right there. Because now we're looking at the house from the side.
Where's Corton?
Gorton is to your left.
Okay, where are those other door walls then that we were just looking at? Those.
Those are, let me think.
So are there door walls then?
So there's door walls along the side that's coming from the house towards the east. The L shape. That's on the north side. This is the north elevation.
So this is the north, and the other one was the east elevation.
Right, so there's
So-
there's door
so to
walls
my-
here and here.
Okay, so then to my question, so if you go back to the north elevation, so while we can't see them on the right side, there are door walls
Yeah.
here
The other,
too.
yeah, there's
So,
coming out of the house this way.
so in other words, you could say, well, maybe you gotta lose some of the door walls on the right-hand side, but we're gonna let you keep a couple of these door walls. And so we're gonna minimize, even though we're not supposed to do this by ordinance, I mean, when I say.
Well, how
or-
about we do a little bit and
Well, I can,
opening the door?
may I try to, kind of try to tell you what I think you're saying and to explain it? If right now there's door walls here and here,
Right.
but if this wall were to move down to here, and this was more like a patio at grade, right, up top, then you could still have this door wall, you could still have a little bit of a walkout, and you wouldn't need all this cut and fill. It'd be kind of a smaller little area to get out. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's a maximum cut part. That's the maximum.
Well, I'm saying you would.
But that's kind of tucked into the building corner, so it's
Yeah,
not
I'm
as.
saying that you would eliminate, if there was a way to conceptually do that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So you would propose giving them the walkout on the south portion of that patio where it's.
Well, maybe on, like, well,
Where it's the most red?
No,
Oh, here.
no,
corner,
where the,
inverted.
where the green is, and.
Oh, Jim, you didn't explain it
The
well.
green is fine right
I said just bring this across, and this becomes the walkout right here, from like here to here.
Yeah.
Am I
no
right?
walkout
Well,
Yeah,
windows other than-
I'm saying get rid of, so that you don't have the huge, you eliminate the red.
you won't eliminate the red back in this corner.
Well, I'm saying you gotta
Eliminate all
change-
this red.
I'm saying you gotta sort of change the plan. You give them a little bit, right?
Yeah, I
And
would
I
just-
guess I haven't
So they
looked
would
at,
have egress from
They have-
the basement where the yellow is on the south
Yeah.
end.
And right where the red.
Oh, you're saying even over to here, Walt?
Can you show us a picture of it? Of
I'm
what-
trying to-
so
yeah.
the mayor can see that.
Let me, give me a second here, let me try to,
I'm sorry, 7 feet is like the height of a story almost.
yeah, no,
It
and
just
and so
doesn't, I
when
don't
I
know
go.
why we're.
so the new wall, I'm gonna come up here with this pointer. So Walt, this is looking back at the house from the neighbor's level. This grade would move in this way.
Yes, to the point that maybe it's 3 or 4 feet,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, so they end up having.
So either they can have garden windows on this side, right, as we step down from the grade, they could actually have garden windows here.
It's almost like we would have to see how this
here,
is
And
designed.
this could be the walkout.
So to your.
But it's still 7 feet in that.
Still 7
those-
feet, way
So,
back.
may I ask?
Actually, no,
7
I'm,
feet with that
I'm saying
first
it's
door
not
wall
7
on the
feet.
left?
I'm saying that you wouldn't make that cut anymore.
Yeah. Let me
That's
go
what
to
I'm
the-
asking. Can I just ask one thing? So on the right, those 2 doors that are walking out, that's where it's a 7-foot cut.
Correct.
Yes.
Required. And then it's 7-foot cut probably for the next bay of windows. So you are proposing that the bay of windows on the far left, not the far left, but the
The middle, yeah.
second one over, is a doorway out?
Yeah, this
And
could
all
be,
of
this
that
could be
is
the door.
filled in?
This could be the
I'm
door.
not- I'm not really proposing, I'm asking a question. Whether, because I'm not comfortable with this huge cut, because we don't allow anyone to do it. So if you start
We've never
allowing
allowed
it here,
that, right.
I'm not proposing we do that.
Okay.
What I'm suggesting is, if you get down to the area where it's more 3 or 4 feet, which is those last 2 door walls,
What color is yellow? What is on the?
Looking at the wrong, the way I see this is you're looking at the east side.
no, I'm looking at,
North.
that's,
So,
that's,
Look the arrow up top, the arrow's pointing north.
yeah,
Right.
no,
So the northern elevation, as they call it back here, is looking this way.
you know, may I have your point, can I have that pointer so you can understand what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I understand. So this is what I'm saying.
You're saying allow this to be walkout.
No,
Fill this,
I-
put this back to grade.
I'm saying, how does this thing work?
Middle, you gotta keep it.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
You shoot
So-
yourself. There you go.
Okay, so,
Do you want to go up there? Got it.
Broke it,
is it working?
broke it. It's working
Oh, it is?
on the left.
I think,
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. So, right now, there are door walls, and this, okay, so right now, there are door walls here, and there are door walls here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I understand. So, what I'm saying, right now, there's like that small window, there's a window here, and then there are door walls along this whole thing here, and there's door walls here. I'm saying, allow, if they want to put a door wall in here, maybe keep their door wall here, maybe they gotta change, if they want to do this, maybe they gotta change their plan or something. If, I would look at this and say, if you've got a 4-foot cut, maybe I can live with that,
But the
maybe
yellow
3.
is 6.
Yeah, the yellow, I mean, it's.
No,
It's a gradient, right? It's
Yeah,
5
no,
and 6.
yeah, I'm saying get rid of, I'm not comfortable with any of this. I'm saying this,
Yes.
yes,
Before we get too much further, I want to remind you, this is not a plan review, this is an appeal. So let's be careful about drawing conclusions, we want to hear from the applicant first.
Sure.
sure,
Good point.
sure,
very good
So you-
point.
an
Let's-
appeal,
so I'm,
Okay.
so with all due respect, I asked the engineer a specific question, Mark.
I understand that, I think we
So,
should wait until we hear from the applicant.
so,
Because this is
Yeah, we're just noodling this.
Yeah, we're not gonna, let's,
Yeah, okay,
let's
yeah.
go, yeah.
Let's, yeah.
Let's hear from the applicant.
Okay,
That's what we're here for.
go for it.
Good evening. I'm Greg Bono. I'm with PEA, civil engineer. Homeowners, future homeowners here with us, and intends to have specific questions about the house. But I guess it's a little bit difficult to see with this particular image. But if you look at the topographic survey and how the contours on the land kind of form, there's more of a significant drop-off in elevation along the eastern, or the right side here. So the function of that particular cut being like literally right in the center of the house is really just because the existing ground at that exact spot is 9 feet or 8 and some change feet above what we're proposing. So there was some discussion about the original house. It had a walkout basement on it, but I think unfortunately the door walls in that faced east, right, to the right. So it would be, yeah, so the walkout faced basically immediate side yard walkout, which is not something that they're really interested in. They want the walkout portion of their basement to be this pseudo rear of their home, you know. So what we're proposing here is just that the walkout is across the rear. I know Eric's sketch was kind of showing it, that this still kind of is technically in the side yard, but for all intents and purposes, really is kind of the rear of that portion of the house there. So, and that's kind of becoming like a little bit of a design element for some outdoor recreation for the kids. The homeowner's interested in just having that as an area for the kids really to play. So there's other areas here, but with the way the covered porch and the columns are set up and how everything kind of like overlooks that area, it's a really nice value-added design feature that they've really fallen in love with, and that's why they really wanted to come here today to appeal, you know, to some of to the ordinance requirements, and obviously a lot of the feedback we've gotten from the engineers and the planners who've been great working with us. We've been at this for many months. I think we originally were in last year, so we're kind of at this point where my clients really fallen in love with the design of what they have with this walkout feature here. And I know we're kind of debating over some terminology about what a forced walkout is. I would consider a forced walkout is creating a walkout basement where there is no overland flow route for the grade to water to drain overland, you know. So we feel very comfortable that we have that situation. Mr. Burton obviously has pointed that out, and so we're not creating any potential adverse situation for future maintenance, you know, flooding concerns like that. It's just the way the topography of the property is it drops off, you know, suddenly on the east side, and we're just trying to frame that walkout to maximize some of the natural light that can be entered in through the, and you know, it's yeah, natural light that can come in through the basement and just kind of finish off this walkout area in a really cool way. We've tried to incorporate these landscape walls to help with the transitions, and they're really excited about it. So we're hoping for some positive feedback from you guys on this, and because we're not creating a potential drainage issue, and we're trying to situate the home in the best way that we can with the existing topography that's there. So we've worked a lot with Eric about the setback requirements, which relates to the amount of exposed wall face and what the setback from the property line is. So we've taken a tremendous amount of that into consideration. We've really narrowed it down to just what I would really say is this really small area in the back here. That's the reason why we wanted to come and present our case here.
Anyone have questions?
I have a comment, but no.
Go ahead.
So, I think when people purchase land in the city of Bloomfield Hills, especially when it's vacant land, they know what they're buying. And I think it's incumbent upon people, when they're buying property in the city in which we all live, to understand what can be built on that property within the guidelines that we provide that are public, and what can't be built on that piece of property. And if what they want to build, and it's their dream to do that, and it can't be built on a particular piece of property, then they should look for a piece of property that will accommodate that particular property. This shouldn't be our issue. I have an accountant who says, "Don't make your problems my problems." And this, to me, is an example of that. This shouldn't be our problem. This is a problem with the piece of land. Sounds like a beautiful home. It's just a beautiful home that's not suited for this particular piece of property without some really serious accommodations that we just don't typically make.
That's a great point.
If I could respond to that real quick, I definitely appreciate that, and I know as a consultant in this business, we have clients come to us with many interests that we try to walk them through that exact same thought process. The only thing I would add to this is that my client did purchase this property with the existing house there, and it did have the walkout basement already. He just demolished it because he had intended eventually to construct a much nicer home on the property, and in his mind, it had an existing walkout basement. It had this topography, and so he was eventually trying to just meet the similar intent of what he originally had there. So, yeah, if this was a vacant piece of land that did not have a walkout basement previously, it might be a slightly bit of a different argument. I'll definitely agree with you on that. But in terms of the perception of the buyer and what he had versus, what he wants to do, in his mind are pretty much the same.
I'll just, by the way, that was well said.
Thank you.
For being new on the commission. Some of us have been on the commission for a long time, and we have people that come in. I will tell you, we have never granted an 8-foot. I can't imagine once when we did that. What we always say is you build the house to fit the lot. You don't change the lot to fit the house. And because of that, we have, rolling hills, and we have, topography that's really different in the city, and it makes it unique. So on this one, I know they fell in love with this design, but it's, in my mind, it's too far for me to go. I don't think it's our job to engineer, or to architect, your home. But in my mind, I think you need to go revisit and get rid of these deep cuts and fills. The fact is that the homeowner bought the house knowing that the walkout basement was to the east, and you told us you want to move it. Well, they bought it knowing where it was. So that's just my thoughts on this.
I agree with that. Any other comments?
Unfortunately, I concur.
Yes?
Can I read a couple portions of the ordinance that they know?
Sure.
Sure.
7.5-2, friend 1, applicant shall, not well about this, but endeavor to design improvements that fit and respect existing site conditions, including drainage, topography,
was the section of the ordinance you read from?
I'm reading the general rating requirements are 7.5-2, and then the appeal process is 7.5-9.
And I think what that says, it says it has to meet all three of those criteria, correct?
It actually doesn't say that, but it's implied.
So,
Commissioner McCarthy, in all of your years on this board, I'm only asking you, but anyone else can answer this?
Well,
Because this is this is kind of over my head on the whole 8 foot, and I didn't have this until then, so I couldn't even figure this house out in there. You said you've never granted an 8 foot or something that's not necessary for a forced walkout in the city.
right, I've never, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, Walt, you can speak up here, but I don't remember ever doing that.
What about you, Walt?
so, we've granted 8-foot cuts, but they've been for specific site reasons where we needed to. So, for example, in Barrington, you'll remember this, Jamie, that house that is on the south end of the site, there were extraordinary conditions to requiring or allowing them some latitude. But if it's purely for aesthetic purposes, and Jamie, I think you and I actually wrote that language. The specifics of it was we shouldn't change the character of the community in the grade to fit a house design. And that was that's what those paragraphs say, that we shouldn't do that, and we've sort of adhered to that. And those are sort of the stipulations that we followed. And if there's criteria that are necessary, like in the Barrington site, we've done that. But we don't do it for aesthetic purposes.
I think as you were, it's not for me to sell it. Oh, this is Omar.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Marcella Callie. My husband would have been here, but there's been a lot of flight delays. And
Oh,
he's supposed to be here
yes, yeah.
today, and he's still on the flight soon to come home. We originally bought this house in 2016, moved into the neighborhood. We love it here. I'm part of a PTO and very involved in the community. We have 5 beautiful children. We've been, we live on Court End, just on the opposite end towards, or by Gilbert Lake currently. When we originally knocked this down, it was during COVID time, and I was hoping to do all that building during that time, because it was obviously, everybody was, easygoing, and it was a lot more different. Everything was done from your home. It didn't happen. Prices went up and things went up, and we just ended up waiting and waiting until it was the right time. We've been going at this for over a year now, back and forth. We did not start with this exact house, but a lot of it is similar. We've made a lot of changes, trying to please, every time we've had the meetings, we've tilted it, switched garages, done a lot of different things to, again, try and make it work. I know you said, we shouldn't be building the house that we want because the lot doesn't allow it, but we did have another basement that was there. It was a walkout. It was not as large of a house at that time. We only had 2 kids, and like I said, now we have 5. We're trying to, build our dream house just like everybody else is trying to live their life, build their houses, to get better and progress in life. And we're just hoping to still be a part of this community. Where we live now, it's not enough for 7 of us. We're trying to make this work so that we're not now being pushed out. It's a lot, obviously prices have gone up, things have changed. I know it's a lot in your eyes, but honestly, it's just the corner, and it looks like that because it looks scary because of the coloring, but it's the corner of that piece of literally that corner. I mean, it's not the red top 8. So we're not doing 8. We're not doing the second. Is it the third, if I'm seeing that correctly with that orange color?
The very corner, the worst spot is just over 7 feet, like
6
7.1.
to 7, okay, so.
7.1, so you're
Okay.
just at the touch that corner.
So number 3, yeah. I know it looks scary, and I know you don't allow it, but if I understand correctly, or even from the other meetings, there was not just one, but even before going to planning commission, wasn't there a 5? And don't quote me on this, but was there another property or anything that had to be, no?
We have, the chairman's point earlier,
Yeah.
there's been approvals of a lot of different things over
Yeah,
time.
different,
all
right, every
for
lot has its
different-
own, yes.
different
yes,
purposes or different rationale or cleaning up errors of our forefathers and so forth. But
Yeah, I mean, we're not asking for a whole, like even the backside, the whole backside's not being touched. What can we do besides cutting that completely out? I mean, then it's just not gonna happen because it doesn't make sense for us to build on that if it's not going to be something we truly love, you know. We didn't buy the plans, like this is from scratch, and then we worked really hard to make it work as best we could.
So, I'm not sure if this board right now, from what I'm hearing, is comfortable with the 8-foot.
7.1.
Yes.
I just, again, I remind you, this is an appeal.
Right.
My point being, a denial is not the end of this plan. A denial is just a denial of the appeal. They can continue to work with staff and the engineer. It had some input from you tonight indirectly. I just want to remind you of that.
Well, isn't that what the engineer
Wait a
wall
second.
up there were
Pardon me.
doing then,
Pardon me.
right?
So, excuse me, Mark. What we typically do in these planning commission meetings, when we have residents come in front of us that have spent tens of thousands of dollars on their plans, what I, as an individual commissioner, will do, rather than let them walk out of here with a denial, I want to give her, she's asked, what's comfortable. I can't speak for everyone else on this commission, but I think it's reasonable to give her, which is what I intend to do right now, my opinion. Not that she's going to walk out of here not knowing that this was approved, that it was not approved, but you've watched what we've done as you've been on this commission for the last 6 months. When someone, just like the prior application, they were turned down for three times in a row. We gave them feedback, and so I think it's important to give her some feedback so that she's not walking out of here and saying, well, I got denied, I'm not really sure what they're looking for. So,
And
I.
my point was that was done earlier in the meeting.
Well,
But if you want to
actually,
come up, that's fine. I want to remind you.
No, I understand. I raised some questions of the engineer to understand where the door walls were on the building, and I'm not even sure there was complete understanding about where the door walls were. And she's not going to walk out of here with an approval, but she heard from one commissioner, and she knows everyone else is not comfortable with it. Maybe she's going to walk out of here with the impression that if you understand that there was an existing home. So you may have to look at this and come up with some kind of abbreviated plan, and I don't know how everyone else feels about that. But on the east side of the building right now, where you have the green, the 2 to 3 feet, actually, under our ordinance, the city manager actually has privileges over 2 feet but less than 4 in terms of what gets, what gets approved. So I think there's some latitude here. I mean, we're running pretty tight now. There's some latitude. So if you want to redesign this, you can see people aren't comfortable with 7 feet. They're not comfortable with 6, maybe 2 or 3 feet. Yes.
Well, I was just gonna say, I appreciate everything you're saying. I think a little bit that may be missing, and you won't hear this in the planning commission meeting, but, you know, essentially this just is a denial of this, plan. But they haven't given a lot of feedback. We'll continue to work with them. We have a lot of ideas. And in a lot of ways that you did. Move the house, you know, modify this, and I don't do that. Our experts do that, engineers do that. But I can assure you that we will work as a team to help them.
Do we need to either approve or deny the
Yeah,
appeal? Is
we've-
that
Yeah,
sort of
we
what
need a
we're
motion to
go
deny.
ahead.
Yeah,
That's
if you
a
know,
simple
I
thing.
mean, if I could just ask procedurally, so if we just get denied, then we have to reapply to come back? Or if we make some changes, or similarly to like planning commissions where maybe we can postpone it for,
If you
Further-
if I say this wrong, let me know, Mark. But if you get denied tonight, you know, you heard our feelings. We don't like the deep cuts and fills. You can work like with Eric and with Dave, and if you're within 2 or 3, they have the power, they have the authority, and you don't need to come back in front of us. So you're fine. You don't have to come
I'm
back.
okay if you come
Okay.
back at a 5 feet thing, and I don't want you to give up on your dream home, but you are, but
So,
We-
but let
You
me
can shut
answer
up
the
some
question. So what we have done historically with these grading variances, we've allowed people to come back, we've tabled them, we've not just issued a complete denial.
let's do that.
But this is
That
different.
that in
That's all right.
the ordinance, if we say no, if the engineering administration says no, then it's an appeal process.
Yeah.
We've already said.
This one is an appeal process. It's a
So
little
it's-
different.
It's essentially you deny it, they can come back, or maybe they won't, because
But
maybe they.
aren't there differences in the filing fees and everything? What we've done, I thought, haven't we tabled them so that,
There's nothing in this situation that Dave just explained that the engineer denied the
Yeah.
request, so it's a completely.
so I guess I didn't understand that it was completely denied
Yeah,
by.
because we feel like we were trying to work with them, they wanted to, they didn't essentially listen to what we recommended, and so they have the ability to come here, that's an appeal.
It's an appeal.
They were denied by the administration, they exercised their right, they filed this appeal. This is before this commission on appeal. A decision needs to be made and supported with the criteria I mentioned earlier. But that doesn't end the process, they're free to go back to the administration and continue to work with them, it just terminates this
Yeah.
scenario.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Ready?
motion?
No.
Not smart enough
Go
to make
ahead.
a motion.
I can't do that.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll do it, but I'm gonna need
Go
your
for
help,
it.
Mark. I make a motion that we deny the request of the appeal
The
request,
appeal.
the appeal request from the homeowner at 3376 Corton Road for a grading variance based on, Mark, can you help me out? The three.
Although it may not be detrimental to property owners in the vicinity, other lots in the city have varying topography and don't try to create a walkout. And that the strict application of the grading ordinance will not cause undue or unnecessary hardship, and that the granting of the permit would be contrary to the general objectives of the grading ordinance.
Thank you. You got all that, Amy? Okay, I made the motion.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Good luck.
Does anyone have any comments, or can we adjourn the meeting?
I think we're all set.
Okay? Adjourn our meeting. Thank you.